Salutations, nerds. Sorry for the delay. I just had some two loose dogs in the yard and I got worried about all my birds. So I'm a little discombobulated. But welcome. This is Token Minority Report here on Unsafe Space. I don't actually have any sort of intro plan, so I'll just bring on my co-host who decided to return this week. I mean, I know who was here last week, but officially she's back. She it took a lot of groveling and crying, but eventually I convinced her. So she hasn't abandoned me forever yet. So my co-host, the light of my life, Alex Maselli.
Hi. Yeah, I'm back.
Your shyness is what makes you so great. That's what's so endearing to me is your discomfort.
My discomfort. Yeah, I'm like, I have this red light, and I'm like, do I even need it? Because I feel like sometimes your intro like just makes me blush because I'm like, what the hell is she saying?
Well, see, that's what, yeah, I never wear like any, I've talked about it before, like face makeup, because I just naturally have like rosy cheeks. I don't know if I have like rosacea or something, but like in the sun, if I get flushed really easily, and it's just like my state of being. So, well, whatever. Hello, Jillian, and hello, Jean Ellis. Welcome. The geese are doing well. I've got a little baby goose who's a week and a half now. So she's so big, and I was just telling Alex beforehand that I'd want to show her, but they're always wandering around outside. So once it gets dark, if they come to bed, I'll run and grab her. The parents get a little bit upset though, so I can only keep her away for so long. And Jillian says, big hype for Uncharted. Oh, is there a lot of big hype for it? I don't know. I did watch it. So we're going to talk about Uncharted tonight. We've got a few different mini videos and stuff. And then we're going to talk about Day Shift, the Netflix movie with Jamie Foxx and Dave Franco. And who else? Other people.
Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I was like, what's he doing here? But we'll wait. We'll get to that later. Yeah. Hi, None Your Business. I thought you were already here. Sorry that we didn't wait. Oh, I guess I'll put these on screen because who knows if we're going to get deleted later. Johnny Boy, hello. So, yeah, what was I don't have any idea what I'm doing tonight. I'm so discombobulated after those dogs. But I guess before we get into Uncharted, I wanted to continue a topic that you weren't here for last week because you abandoned me. But I've been watching Riverdale season 6, and I was continuing another episode or two earlier today, and it's so weird. Like they're in such a magical thing, multiple dimensions, superpowers and everything. I love it because I love when shows kind of get like weird over the years. It reminds me of like Boy Meets World, not to the same extent, but like in the later years, Eric Matthews just gets crazy. Like he starts off as like the cool brother, and then he's a little dumb, and then they just like go full in on how like he's so stupid and he's like crazy. And there's the one episode where he's mad at Topanga, and so he keeps like I think she beat him up in his dream or something, so he keeps trying to like be able to take her down, but so he hides as the couch cushions that's sitting under her, and like there are different things where he hides, and one is inside a painting in the wall.
Oh my god.
This isn't even like physically possible. So they just like distort reality. And I love when, it's like season 7 or something, like, yeah, like you're toward the end, we'll just have some fun. So I really like when that happens. What is this? Streamer link popped in, says chat. Oh, is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay. I was like, what are the secret things? Okay, so we could do it this way.
It's Can hard you to read that though?
Not really.
Yeah.
Are you able to like zoom in, or wait, if I just have us to the side, how do I do this? Oh no. Do I do it? Well, no, I don't want that. How do I spotlight?
Well, now it's real big.
I don't know how to just select one to.
Yeah.
Oh god. Why is this doing that again? Oh wait, no, maybe I can move it. Can I move it? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
we can have chat, but it's huge.
News layout. What does this do? I'm just trying different layouts. It does nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
Okay.
it would be worth like trying, but there's not a lot of options with.
I know. Okay. Well, I guess if people
putting the
really
chat
care
up.
about chat, they can zoom in. I'll just leave it like this because it doesn't affect us at this point. So.
Yeah. I figured I'd try.
Yeah, all right, I'll leave it there. That's fine. I was just so confused. Like, did we just enter an alternate reality where like chat now exists as like a personification?
Yes.
But so the Riverdale, there again, it's super weird, and I just wanted to reference. Coley and I talked about last week, the chilling adventures of Sabrina and how terrible of an ending that was. Just full spoiler alert to all of the stuff, everyone. But she, at the end of Sabrina, she dies. She dies a very pathetic death because
what
she.
the fuck kind of
Yes.
response is that after Sabrina? No, oh my god, no. What? I haven't watched it, but I'm not going to now.
Oh, and like, it's pretty woke too. I mean, like they're a little bit. It's okay because it's like, oh, it's a feminist thing, and then so it gets a little bit more heavy-handed a bit. But at the very end, so there's like miners that and Harvey or something like they're in. I don't remember if they were just if it collapsed or they were in another dimension or something. I don't remember that part. But so she's using like all the other witches are and warlocks are like using her body as they're like cutting her to bleed her out to cast this spell to save them. I guess they're in a dimension or whatever. And it brings them back, and she's slowly dying and just like saying goodbye to everyone and then dies. And I was like, the same thing with Supernatural's ending too. That's why I hate them both pretty equally, because it was like, if you're going to kill off a character, at least make it cool, like make it epic, instead of Dean and Supernatural dies by just getting impaled on rebar and with a really pathetic thing, and then and Sabrina bleeds out. So she's not even doing anything cool. She's just lying there and dying. So I was really upset by that, and I've hated it since then. But season 6 retcons it, because like at the end they show her in the suite hereafter, which is heaven, and then her boyfriend Nick commits suicide by like drowning himself in the ocean and goes to be with her, and so then they see him together, they get together at the end. They retconned is that actually he sacrificed himself and was trading places with her, so they were able to resurrect her, and she's back to life now. So she is on Riverdale, and they have to, because all the supernatural things that are going on. But I was like, okay, that makes me I mean, I think it's a total afterthought that people probably just hated the ending, and so you're retconning later on to say like, actually she was still alive, we just whatever. But so I was happy to see that. And but yeah, season 6 is just so crazy with all the supernatural stuff, but I love it. And I mean, again, it's the like guilty pleasure, the cheesy drama and everything too, though. But like now that it has all like the magic stuff, though, I'm like, okay, this is what I wanted from season 1, so I'm glad we're finally here. What is this age? Oh, I was reading it. Gene Ellis. Should I still put these up? Even though I'm just gonna put double chats up. That way, if we have to delete it, you get multiple chances to be able to see what's going on in chat. So yes. Everyone in chat needs to say like important things. Here, make it count. Can you go on YouTube with your phone while broadcasting? Who, like, just us? I mean,
when I live stream for my channel, I have it up on my phone so I can interact with chat if I have to really quickly, because it's a lot faster than going over to my other computer. But I also have the other computer has it up, and that's how I'm broadcasting the chat to StreamYard.
Yeah. I'm still just going to keep doubling up. This is how I like to back up all of my files too, is do it. That's what I was trying to do earlier today, was clean out my computer, my hard drives, because I just like multiple times back up everything, because I get worried. I'm like, well, what if something happens to this folder on the same drive? Let me copy it like 3 different times over the month.
So
like,
That's actually makes a good point about Riverdale. So does the woman come back to life and the person
Also
she loves is dead? That's
yes, yes,
I mean,
it
like
is.
that sucks.
But in Riverdale, she briefly gets to be reunited with him because she's there now, more of a necromancer witch, and she to bring back because multiple main characters died earlier in the episode. Again, they've
Okay.
died like different times throughout the season in different universes, and so
I didn't know
so
Riverdale was quite so crazy.
mostly this season, it like season 5 was really boring. Like each previous season had like a mystery or something weird where it was like, oh, is this going to be supernatural? And it's not. And like serial killer mystery stuff. Like, so it's been cool in that regard. Outside of the like, I'm 16 and I've started like 3 different businesses, and like they've had like everyone doing that where they're and parents, if they were involved, they were bad guys. So there was just like no one cared about like actually really raising the children, and they're all like just really uh, entrepreneurs in a lot of different ways. But now this is like 7 years after high school, so they're adults, and it makes a
Oh,
little bit
okay.
more sense. But
That's better. Like
but
I know I've seen people complain about that show being for kids and like maybe presenting too much sex or something. I
oh,
dread.
I'd say it's
I
about high school kids, but I wouldn't say it's for kids. Like I'd say it's for older teens, but there's definitely a lot of sex, which again, it's like, where are the parents that they're just like, oh, we slept together. Now let's go take a shower together. I'm like, you're like 17. Like, and
How are they able to have sex in a place that they have access to a shower? I would think
they were just
most
like in
kids.
homes, yeah, and like, and apparently the
Yeah.
parents just aren't like, listening or anything, or they're I don't know. It was just kind of again, a lot of the parents were just bad guys or doing stuff stellar, like they're busy too, I guess, um, or like what are easily manipulated, like the Betty Cooper's mom is it's like this season too, like she's by the bad guy who's like the supernatural bad guy who's like has persuasive powers, and I was just like, aren't you the couple of the characters like, aren't you guys tired of just being controlled by others all the time though? Like, because falls into like a cult in a previous season. She just like, it kind of makes sense, like her personality is just sucks though too, so she's so susceptible to all these things. But it's like, you think eventually you might grow more as a person and be able to fight this off, but instead you just end up being like, she's kind of a Karen, I guess you could kind of say.
Oh
Like,
God.
the essence of like being a Karen. But yes, so season 6 is just so ridiculous. And so Sabrina gets her love back briefly when she's trying to resurrect Archie and Jughead and everyone who died earlier in the episode. And he comes back in Jughead's body temporarily. So they get to hang out for a bit. But
You know what's
yeah.
kind of funny? I used to read the old Archie and Jughead and all those the actual comics.
Yeah.
I loved them. I thought they were so much fun and silly. They were pretty awesome. But when I saw Riverdale, when I saw the trailers for it and everything when it first came out years ago, I was like, what is this CW Dawson's Creek shit? And then someone at work told me, "Oh, it's about those Archie comics characters." And I was like, "What?"
Very loosely.
Like in name only?
They do like the love triangle thing where they just take and like they have like similar appearance with like Archie's red hair, and then Jughead's dark hair, but it's like,
In the
yeah.
hat.
And never he doesn't wear the crown. He just wears like a little beanie though. Except
Yeah.
in season 6 when they sent him when he dies and goes to the afterlife, then it's the way the Archie comics are though too. So
Oh
everyone's
God.
dressed in like the old style, and he has like his little crown and all. So it's just done like, oh yeah, this is Pop's Diner, but it gets so meta in this too because like
Does he ever try to eat really large sandwiches?
he eats a lot of burgers, but I don't think he
Oh
a
no.
large sandwich. But they end up getting like they get meta with the comics. They talk like the comics exist in the alternate reality like of Rivervale, and then they just like so then he's reading the Riverdale comics that changed to Rivervale. So it's just like he's reading what's happened throughout their entire thing. Like,
Oh
what
God.
is going and it started with season 6 started with episodes 1 through 5 were in Rivervale in this alternate reality where Archie, again, a lot of spoilers here, Archie dies in the first episode by being sacrificed by the entire town. Like it just gets like there's a devil in it. Like they just went full in on all of these like weird like horror stories for each episode, and then it like tied it in with the end of season 5 because there was a bomb that was going off, and it's like that's when the reality split up. So it's really convoluted, and it's just like a lot of fun to see all of the craziness and the magic. But hello, G-Man, welcome. Ask, did you watch any more of the Terminal List after your review of episode 1, and what did you think if you did? We're gonna do eventually a full review once I finish the season. And I think I've only watched episode 2 so far. I'm
further ahead.
So eventually, how far are you in Scream Queens? Because I'm done with that one.
Season 1.
Okay.
I finished season 1. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Especially that last episode of season 1 was amazing. Like I don't want to get too far into it, but I like really love some of its commentary on like new feminism.
Yes, yeah, that's what, like as what's her name? What's the actress's name?
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis. As like super woke and terrible as she is, like her character really does kind of like rag on some like the feminists. Like they call out. It's such an inappropriate thing. But yeah, we'll get full into it once you finish, I guess, with season 2. Hopefully I'll remember. I'll just have to rewatch the whole thing for like a 4th time.
Who completed the poll? I didn't end the poll.
I didn't even know there was a poll.
Yeah, there's a poll up, and I'm seeing
I see
that
it.
It's somehow it's done. Who did that?
How did they do? Oh, I think a mod. Who's a mod in here?
A moderator had to do it.
No one else around is a mod. I don't think so. It wasn't me. I wasn't even touching
the ghost of Carter. He's somewhere around.
I'm guessing. He is there. I did by mistake. Sorry, I came here to harass you, and it was a stray click.
I called it. Aha!
Yeah. Wow. What did the poll say? I guess you could put it back up again. Everyone.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Everyone has to vote again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It always ends up being people haven't watched the things yet. So I think
we just play the Carter clip.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. Okay. Here we go.
Cool it down, my pretty. Bad bitch. Make the bad glitchy. Fine. Fine.
There. To get back at Carter for ruining everything. And Gene Ellis had said earlier too about backing up files and stuff. Yeah, I've got like multiple hard drives to back up everything because I'm so paranoid. Hello, George. Riverdale Talk is his new favorite podcast. Oh, I forgot. I should watch this. I don't usually watch other people talk about things, but at least for like TV shows. Maybe I should. I forgot I'm doing all these multiple backups of chat too.
Yeah.
And we're
getting more sensitive about saving this chat.
I know, yeah. Oh yeah, and we'll make sure that everyone knows that Carter boomered this. Yes. Thank you, G-Man, for the suggestion of playing the Carter clip. This is always good to know. Urkel voice, did I do that? Oh, Jillian was being sarcastic. Okay, again, I didn't even realize there was a poll there because it doesn't show up on StreamYard. And then
it doesn't.
Yeah, StreamYard is not the best. But okay, so yeah, everything with Riverdale is ridiculous, and I love it. Moving into Uncharted territories. I don't know where my notes are on this. Oh, because I think I took less notes on Uncharted than I did for Dejant. So what did you think of Uncharted? We'll start with you.
Okay. It was underwhelming. For the most part. I don't know. Like I felt like Tom Holland and oh fuck. Why am I blanking
Mark
on his
Wahlberg.
Name? Thank you, Mark Wahlberg. I was literally just talking about this movie to someone else and I was saying his name. And Mark Wahlberg had like no chemistry at all as a duo. And when I was talking to someone about that, they said, okay, has Mark Wahlberg had chemistry with anyone? And I was like, well, Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, yeah, okay, that's fair. But Tom Holland, like most of the time, I'd say chemistry-wise, whoever he's playing off of is carrying the scene. Like Robert Downey Jr., Jon Favreau. I don't really think he has all that like charisma. He's like really good at action, like because he's amazing at that with the way he can like flip and do all this stuff. But I don't actually
do all the actual stunts.
Oh my God, he doesn't do like stunts, but the fighting he can do all that.
Okay.
He can do like flips and stuff. Like that was one of the like famous stories about him becoming Spider-Man. Is that like he said to someone, she's like, I think it was Chris Evans, should I flip into the scene? And Chris Evans was like, yeah, sure, do that, kid. And then he did. And Chris Evans was just like, what the fuck was that? Because he can do those things. He's really talented with how he can handle his body. But I don't actually think Tom Holland's that good of an actor. And so like, he's great. And also, here's the thing too, is that the way I know that I don't think of him as that good of an actor is that he was basically the same as Peter Parker. Like that.
I was gonna say is that like even before the movie that I asked my boyfriend and I was like, do you think he's just gonna be the Spider-Man's personality here? And started watching. Yep. That's
that first line out of his mouth when he kicks that guy in the face and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That was just a reaction." I was like, that's the same.
Yeah.
Peter Parker saying that.
Yeah.
It was exactly the same.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll say overall, I thought the movie was fun, and I have no reference with the games at all. I've never played anything, and I forgot that it was based off of a game until one point where I'm like, oh yeah, this definitely looks like video game scenes. A lot of the action stuff that like even the jumping on the boxes and stuff in the sky. I guess that's also iconic. And but yeah, I forget. Later on, there was a part there. I was just like, yeah, this is definitely a video game.
You mean the part where they lifted up to 200-year-old ships and carried them by helicopter?
Oh yeah, that too.
That part was very video game.
I was really anxious when they were like lifting it away. I'm like, there's no way those ships are not going to make it. Like these historical things are not going to make it there. Like there's too much action adventure in this movie for those ships to make it. I was like,
as soon as they started lifting them, I was like, well, those things are just going to
collapse. Yeah. Like, how are they even staying together? There's no way. And like, and the fact that they did, I was just, and then when the one fell into the water, I was just like, well, it's gonna sink. Like that isn't it. Like it's landing hard. It's gonna, if it was intact beforehand, it's definitely not now.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, it slowly started saying like, yeah, good, okay, physics still works.
Yeah, that part made me laugh so hard because I was also laughing at the point where the bad guys said, "Don't put any holes in my ships or I'll kill you."
Oh yeah.
Or whatever. And then later on, they like shoot grappling hooks at the other ship.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, does that not count?" Suddenly,
the one guy had like his machine gun too that shot when he was aiming at it and missed, and then like shot all over. Like she's gonna be so mad. Which, by the way, I forget her name, but she is an actress in. Yeah, and I don't remember the actress's name, but she is an actress in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and so she played kind of similar. You're like kind of a bitch.
I did, when I looked her up, I did see that because she looked familiar to me, but nothing that she's been in have I actually seen her in. But like,
I assume she's, because she's British in Sabrina. I assume she's British in real life, and I was like, everyone's playing American in this movie. Like Tom Holland, whatever Braddock's name is.
Only Mark Wahlberg is American.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw this from Jamie. How am I supposed to simp for Beverly when she brings her boyfriend every episode? Never said that I was exclusive. So, you know. But let me think. What other stuff happened in this movie? Yeah, I'd forgotten that Mark Wahlberg was going to be in it. So when I saw him, I was surprised. I agree. I don't think they had much chemistry, and I mean, it was like kind of expected though, like the dynamic that it was going to be, because he's the young guy with the wiser person with it all. So like you kind of knew what the dynamic was going to be, but I I thought it was fun. I thought like there were, and I liked the action in it because I was trying to compare. I'm like, I thought like, oh, maybe I'm just not as into like action movies. It depends on the plot and everything, and but it's also like treasure hunt. So like, okay, like that's always more interesting. I was trying to think of Top Gun, where I was like, this isn't really my movie, but I think it was also just not as actiony as I want, like. Because it's more like flying around, like the people are just sitting in there as the planes are flying. So it's like the planes part is cool, but like you don't get to see like fight scenes and stuff as much. So and it's not as like quick dialogue back and forth. So usually it'll be like action comedy is what will get me. So like as long as there's like fun dialogue, and I thought Uncharted did have that. But yeah, you're right that they didn't have the best chemistry. Also, all the backstabbing and betrayal, it was just kind of like, all right, yeah, this is expected from like everyone was betraying everyone, where it was like it's not a surprise anymore. You're just, and that's also the point of it, but it was just like when literally everyone betrayed everyone else at different points in time, you're like, but I guess that was also the intention, because finally Tom Holland's character, what was his name? Finally learned to not trust the one girl at the end though too, and it's like, yeah, like now you're getting it like that. It's so I guess that is the intention.
But then he ends up like Sully ends up proving that he is somewhat trustworthy.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
but just don't trust for long though. That eventually, he's probably going to end up betraying, at least in small amounts. I guess it's where you're like, oh, deep down you have the heart of gold thing, but yeah, it's. I don't know, like, yeah, I wouldn't be very trusting especially when it comes to treasure though, like anyone who's going after it, like even Braddock, she was all upset because Mark Wahlberg's character, like they had a fling and then he left her. And it's like, you're a murderer. Why are you that upset that like someone's gonna leave? Like you kind of need to know that like you're not a good person. Like this is just your job, and that like, and especially someone who isn't a murderer, like he's like, I have a line somewhere. Probably might not like you ultimately.
Yeah. Well, and then like there was that point with Antonio Banderas' character where he's giving a speech on his way to the Philippines to the men, to the mercenaries. Yeah. And then and like in the middle of the speech, I was like, the way he's talking, he sounds like such a jackass. I know for a fact he's about to die. Like, yeah. I don't know. I'm really good. They telegraph really hardcore sometimes when someone is going to die, or like they're like, we want you to hate this person right now. We want you to think that they're absolutely useless and not at all helpful. So we're going to kill them, and then you're going to be satisfied that we killed them. And they do that a lot.
I think I was surprised by that part actually, because it was like I knew something was going to happen. I didn't realize because I thought he was the big bad, so I didn't actually expect him to die in that moment, and especially by Braddock. So I might have gasped. A little surprised by that point where I'm like, oh, now you took over. You sighed, like, yeah.
I sighed. This is like there are some movies where I know they telegraph so hardcore what's coming next, to me anyway, that I sigh every time that something happens that I expect to happen, because I get pissed off. I'm like, yeah, it's a big heavy sigh again. And the thing is though, is that this is actually the kind of movie I would normally enjoy. I like action comedies. I think they're fun and enjoyable. I did not like this one. I thought it was rather boring.
Because some of the things I think fell flat. Like I enjoyed it enough because I think I had like very little expectations. So when the bar was so low, I was like, okay, this is fun. But I can see if you're like, like, oh, I enjoy this genre. And then so and I could see that like, oh, it's not as well done as other things can be. So it would be considered flat.
Yeah, it did feel like a sort of sophomoric attempt at an action comedy, and I think it was mostly banking on its Uncharted audience, the video games. The thing is though about that is that it's very hard to please an audience with an adaptation, because you have this long history of fans who have all these preconceived ideas of what the genre, what the idea, the concept should look like, should sound like, the pacing of it, and all that. And
it's hard to live up to expectations.
It really is. And the part of the problem, you can do it. You can actually succeed in making an adaptation that pleases fans. You just have to hit the spirit points, the tone of the original, and you can usually you can usually please them with that. But for one thing, like Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg are a little young, like maybe 20 years too young.
When I was looking at the game, yeah, I thought the Tom Holland's game character, like I'm like, he looks much older. So again, I haven't played or watched the game at all, though. So, and I didn't know Mark Wahlberg's character like exists. Like I hadn't thought about it, but I guess they really did just adapt one of the games, because like they had the brother and everything too, right? So did they just take like, the full plot of one of the games?
I'm not sure of, but when I do, like, well, for one thing with the brother, I saw the ending coming when they're like, first of all, I saw that. By the way, he's dead. Like I knew that was coming. And then when they said, "Oh, you know, it's after credits scene. Oh, he's still alive. Oh, yeah, I knew that too."
Right. Even when the flashback when they were kids, though, that was another thing where I was just like, the brother's definitely dead, right? Like now he's gonna be gone. Like there's no way.
You got that too.
That's what there are certain things.
He's like, I'm leaving, and you might not see me for a while, but I'm coming back. And it's again. Like that's I'm about to die.
Yeah, never say you're like I will be back here. I'll see you again. Like no, you won't. But yeah, I don't know. As far as like sometimes there are things that I can call even like sometimes subtle stuff, but there'll be like connections that are like, oh, that was super obvious that totally just went over my head. I've said it before, I think, with Detective Pikachu, where it was just like they talked about the bodies like switching, like, oh, like they transferred someone, a Pokemon to a human into Pokemon's body and stuff too. And then like, why is Pikachu able to talk? Why is it Ryan Reynolds' voice? And then at the end, spoiler alert, it ends up being the main guy's dad, who just like transferred into his body. I'm like, oh, duh. Like, yeah, of course. Like, why did I not think of? But then I can call like other things like from the beginning, like, oh, you know, any murder mystery. Like, you're the murderer. Like, I see that before they get into anything. Like, you did it. You are the one. But
well,
calls it.
Yeah, I know she's mad for some reason. But I liked Pokemon Detective Pikachu. I think that's a pretty good movie. It's very it's pretty tight actually, and that's what he said. But
I was reading a thing and I should have been there and I wasn't. I was so disappointed with myself.
Yeah, but like one of the things though about it is about Uncharted, the movie, that I don't. That it's the movie starts with the airplane sequence with the stuff falling out of the airplane and everything. And my immediate thought, like when it transferred back to them being kids, because there's nothing to suggest, there's no framing device for that scene at the beginning with the airplane, which we're going to get to in like the end of the second act. That's how far back is how far into the movie it is. And my problem with that was like, so you knew the beginning of this movie, the first two acts of this movie were going to be relatively boring, and you led with this little clip.
There's nothing else before,
yeah, to try to get us to stick around until
waiting.
For the action sequence, the real action, those huge action set pieces, and I felt like that was kind of pathetic because like. Especially compared to like Megamind. Megamind literally starts with him falling in the sky, and he narrates.
He's narrating, yeah.
He goes, "That's me falling to my death. You might ask how I got here." And then the story starts, and he tells you about himself and everything. And then at a certain point, you kind of forget about that beginning. You know?
Yeah.
You kind of forget that it starts with him falling to his death. So unlike Uncharted, there's none of that framing from the narrative to like really like through line that action piece opening.
It was it didn't there was no reason for it to have been there at the beginning outside of like this will happen at some point, so stick around.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
it felt like, a post decision, not
Mhm.
not a production or a pre-production decision. It felt like a post a decision that they test audiences without that scene at the beginning, found that people were bored throughout most of the movie, and so they were like, in post they're like, okay, we'll take a section of action and shove it in the beginning, and and to get people to be more excited, and that's what it felt like to me, so which to me feels clunky, and it's not great. But I don't know, like I feel like when it comes to action comedies, Uncharted kind of was not, it was mediocre at best.
I don't even know. What other action comedy? Can you name a few action comedies? I'm not sure how many I've seen.
My favorite is The Rundown.
Okay, nope,
That
haven't seen that one.
it's
Let me add it to the movies Beverly needs to watch
one of my
list.
favorites.
The Rundown. Hang on. Is rundown one word in that?
Yes.
Rundown.
So it's Dwayne Johnson when he first started getting into acting.
Oh, okay.
And Sean William Scott, Rosario Dawson, and Christopher Walken.
Ooh.
It's a very good movie. It's got some serious moments, but it's very funny. It's got some really great action sequences in it. Some of them don't make sense, but I don't expect action sequences to always make a lot of sense. Like I'm okay with some of them not making sense. Like I'll laugh about the fact that the ships couldn't possibly hold up under those chains, but that's not as big a deal to me as the fact that they stuck a clunky action sequence at the beginning,
right?
Or they have no chemistry between them. Like that's not as big. 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop. Those are
Jimmy and George.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of these, so that's why. Like I have, it's not a genre that I have, I guess, tended to go out of my way. I have seen, what was it, the with Dwayne Johnson, the Jumanji, the new Jumanji films.
Welcome to the Jungle.
Action comedy, because I've seen
pretty
those
much.
ones.
It is. I would say so, and I actually enjoyed that one. Like I think it was actually a pretty good. It was most of its jokes land. It's pretty fun.
Welcome to the Jungle is the second one, right, of the new films?
No. Welcome to the Jungle is the first one, because the original Jumanji is just called Jumanji, and that's the Robin Williams movie. And then
I mean, there's two new ones though.
Two new ones: Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and I don't remember what the title of the second one.
Oh, okay. I thought okay. Then what's?
Rush Hour. That's a really good action comedy. I love that one.
I haven't seen that one
either. There's a great outtake for Rush Hour 2 because Chris Tucker keeps calling Jackie Chan Jackie instead of Lee, which is the character's name. And at one point, like Don Cheadle is filming with them, and he calls him Jackie again, and fucking Don Cheadle goes, "His name is Lee. God damn it!" Because God only knows how many takes they went through.
It was called The Next Level too for Jumanji. It was
The Next Level.
For the Next Level. And to answer G-Man earlier, he was asking what production Uncharted was. It was it says, where is it? Columbia Pictures, PlayStation Productions, Atlas Entertainment, A2 Productions, released by Sony. Oh my gosh, though, that's funny about Jackie. Yeah, and I think I always think it's funny whenever, I don't know if it's just like certain people who maybe acting isn't their main thing, but then they end up like their first name is just their actual name, and it always makes me wonder. I'm like, is it because you just don't remember what your character's name, and it's just easier that way or maybe I didn't think about the flip side is that maybe it's hard for the other actors. They just keep calling because you're just well known enough as you that could be hard to remember.
Kind of ironically, back when Jackie Chan was a star in Asian film before when they were just porting his movies over here, some of his movies, his character's name is Jackie Chan. like
Oh,
literally.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So because sometimes they would do that in some of their films. They're like, it's just the name of the actor. We don't care. Because it was a Jackie Chan film. Like that's essentially what their thought was, which is reasonable. I mean, because Jackie Chan was always a really amazing action star.
And then sometimes like, you know, the name doesn't matter or as much because a lot of times that's more focused on action rather than plot. So it's kind of like whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
You don't even know who this person really or like you're not attached as much to like their story as it is just watching him fight.
I did watch Black Mask in the theaters. That's that Jet Li movie that was actually ported from I can't remember what Asian studio produced that one, but it's all dubbed because it's not in English. It's actually pretty awesome action. I mean, the woman in it is really hilarious in a like, did you hire like just someone you got off the street? Like she walked by you and you hired her? Like what was that? I mean, it's kind of funny. And even her dub, it feels like the woman they got to dub her felt the same way to me. But it's not. Yeah, they just grab somebody.
You know, to just go into that real quick, it's actually I've loved when that's happened. Like that happened to me back in college. I had my senior project and I had and it was silly stuff going on. And I had a scene where in the background of it there was what was it? I had my B plot was that there was like a romance developing because I just wanted to do like a visual thing where it was just like you only see these characters in the background of different scenes though to like see their story unfold. And I couldn't think at first. I was like, I don't even know how do I tell a story just visually without like any dialogue. And then my roommate, she had to say like, you know, it'd be a love story. I'm like, oh yeah, love story. Like never even like crossed my mind that like love stories are easier. So in one of the scenes, I had I think the guy got the love interest, like he got it was getting mugged, and then the girl though like jumps on the guy's back, like the mugger's back. It's like we have this whole like action scene behind it, but up front, the main girl is like talking to like a beggar, and he was asking for change, and she's all upset, so she's like telling her whole life story, and he's just like, never mind, I don't even like I don't care anymore. So he's like, I don't want your change. But the guy who was playing the beggar, it was going to be my friend, and he bailed at the last minute. So I'm like, I need someone to fill in this role. And I was in the school and like going through the stairs. It was an 8th-floor building, so we were like going 9th floor, and we were going down the stairs, and I just happened to see a guy in the stairwell, and I was like, hey, do you want to be in this film? Like, do this? And he said yes. And I found out later on he was a stand-up comedian too. Like he did that on the side. So like, no wonder he said yeah. I'm like, that was such like perfect timing to just like I'd never talked to this guy before. I think he worked down. We called it the Cage Cave where we got all our like film and audio equipment and stuff. But it was just like I had no idea who he was. He was just someone there. I was like, yeah, like can you play a beggar for me? Like some homeless guy. And yeah, so I loved his, and it was my senior project and it was about an improv club. So I loved his yes and to my asking him to help out though. So that was really nice. So sometimes it works out for people who are grabbing people off the street, but it's risky.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know that. I mean, I've never been in that kind of situation. I did theater, but I
There's
directed
scripted things.
Yeah, scripted, and I was mostly the script writer. I was only the actor or the director like a few times. I did not like actually like I was like here's a script, and like they would say, oh, do you want to do rewrites for us? No. Like, bye. That was my attitude. And I am kind of like, I do have a published play and I'm pretty hands off. Like if people want to change things, they do have to contact me for the most part. They're supposed to legally contact me to ask me if they want to change anything.
Why?
And
oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to ask?
Why do you say no? Like what were the reasons why they wanted script changes?
Oh, it's just because it's just something they need to ask if they want any changes. They need to they have to involve the playwright. That's legally required.
And you just didn't want to be the one to like do this change, like if they needed it, and you're like, no, you
if
got to
they
handle
needed
this on
it,
your
and
own.
like I will approve or disapprove of changes to my scripts, but I'm not gonna like really, if I will workshop with someone, but like when it comes to like actually there's a point where I feel like I'm done, I'm not going to I'm not doing any more, like essentially, because it's stupid for me to keep going back to a project. Like this is like, especially like the play I have published is like almost, it's 15 years old now. It's more than 15 years old now. There's no reason for me, like I'm not in that same mindset. Hell no, I can't do a rewrite for that.
I feel like I might be interested if someone did like, oh, like what how would I write this now? Would I change it? And I'm wondering if that would, because I have like plays that I've written back in high school. Even at one point when I was in Chicago, my aunt, she was still like, she's a drama or English teacher and drama teacher and stuff too for the clubs. And she asked me to write the senior class play. That's right. That's what it was. And I actually got paid for it too. So that was fun. But
Nice.
I took one of her like short scripts that we had done like years before, and like I made it into like an hour and a half, 2 hour play. And but I remember like writing like 3 different endings because I just it was like a romance thing, but I got a little bit like progressive in it too, because it was playing off of like the one guy like seemed really gay and stuff too, and at the end, or I made like the main girl like say that she, because what was it? Sorry, it's been so long since, like there was the nerdy friend sidekick who was in love with the main girl, and at the end he like declares her love, and then so like one of the endings was that she was gay, so she's just like, oh, I'm not interested. But that's not great for my small Christian town. So I was like, probably not gonna be okay with that. So then I wrote like backup ideas too, where it was like, oh, she's actually just already dating the other guy who you thought was gay this whole time though, but like they're together. And I think there's some other ending too, but and my aunt was confused. I was like, just pick your ending, because I was like, I just didn't know which one was going to be acceptable for this. But
I have a one act I wrote 3 different endings for. I did do that once because the first ending I wrote, I don't know where, like it was a comedy, like a sex comedy, and then the ending comes out of left field where they all end up with an STD, and I was like, wow, that is not comedy, and I threw that one away. So I wrote another ending, and I was like, I could do better. Like this isn't great. Because what it is that like a couple starts having, like each of them individually start having sex with the same woman, and they don't know that they're doing it. And then like it was gonna be like, what's the big thing that like, the like everybody coming out of doors moment at the end. And at the end I was like, oh, the STD. And I'm like, no, not funny. Okay. And then I went to the next one, which was like just the 3 of them still, and I was like, it's not good either. And then so the third one I had, like the woman, like you hear they're having sex, and then you don't see anything obviously. And then like the young woman opens the door, and she's not one of the people having sex, but there's 3 people in bed, and it's her boyfriend. And that was the ending I went with, because I was like, haha, that's the one that is the most like comedic. And honestly, it's a very immature, stupid play. It's just a one act. But yeah, everyone in the audience has an STD. Yeah.
I was just trying to think, like, yeah, like what ending options are there where it's just open the door and there's just a bunch of people and
it's like a huge orgy. It's the hero-gasm from
oh gosh, yeah.
That episode is hilarious, by the way.
We're talking about The Boys, if you guys haven't watched that yet. We were just talking about the penis to the other day.
Yeah, we were.
Oh gosh, that just makes me uncomfortable, and I don't even have one. Well, neither does that guy anymore, and he's dead, so
I think he's got bigger concerns than a lack of penis.
Yeah. He didn't have his bottom half of a body anymore either.
Yeah. That's his concern.
And he's not the only person who lost a penis in that show either, so.
Nope.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god, I saw a meme of Soldier Boy recently with a friend, and my friend paused it on it, and he was like, God damn him, he's so fucking handsome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, Jensen Ackles.
Oh, he looks so good as Soldier Boy. Like, can we just fangirl out a little bit about Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy?
Always look good and everything, like young and old. Like he's older now too. I'm like, you still look fine.
Yes, definitely. I think he does look better actually. Like when he was younger, he was more like Calvin Klein model attractive, and now he's more
got the
like
rugged. Older, like yeah. I'm trying to think of other people who I'm like, oh, Ryan Reynolds. I think he's someone who I'm like, you're more attractive older now than when I'm watching like younger movies, like what's the one, Just Friends. But yeah, I was like, oh, you got such a baby face, like you're cute, but like now, like you're hot.
Yeah. I don't know. Men get more attractive, like even Timothy Dalton got more attractive, like as he got older.
I don't remember what he looks like young, but he's definitely attractive now.
Yeah, he's in his 70s.
They get more attractive as they get older.
I know. I know. I'm not gonna like. The thing is, though, is that from a genetic standpoint, that makes sense to me. Like because it the same like from the perspective of this man has managed to make it into his 40s and 50s. And survive. Like if you're talking about a hunter-gatherer society, that's fucking impressive. Mm-hmm. And so to me, like to some extent, that visceral reaction to older men makes sense from a deep-seated evolutionary kind of impulse, and why women are not attractive at that age, like because of the lack of fertility.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I agree with that too. Yeah, you've made it this far. Like you're someone who's surviving as the fittest here. So like, that's attractive. And
yeah.
And you don't run out of fertility. So
I had a friend in high school whose dad was 73 years old. We were the same age. And I was like, what? Like my dad was older, like then because he was on his third marriage. But like I was like 73. God damn, that's impressive. That you,
yeah.
And like, what's his name? Theo Vaughn. His dad was really old too. His dad was like in his 70s.
Yeah. I know that. Well, what's I don't remember the ages, but Juliet, who hosts a Narrative Dissonance, like she calls herself. What she said, the oopsie daisy baby is what she calls herself. Because her parents were much older when they had her compared to her siblings and stuff too. But I forget the ages. But I want to say like around 60 or something was her dad was when she was born. So yeah, like sometimes that happens. And I thought my parents were older when they had me, but compared to everyone else around here, because everyone had them young though. But like my dad was like 30 and my mom was like 36.
Oh yeah. My dad started on his kids young, but I was from his third marriage. So he was in his 30s by the time he had me. I'm his last kid actually. So I'm the youngest. And it's kind of hilarious because personality wise, I'm the most like him.
Oh yeah. Well, how yeah, I wonder how that. I mean, I love the psychology of like siblings and stuff too, because I remember like learning where if you're like 6 or more years apart, then you're considered an only child, which I would be too. I've got 3 older half siblings, but the youngest brother is 8 years older than me. So then, but like so psychologically, you'd be considered an only child because you don't have that same like dynamic as far as like sibling rivalry and all that too. Like you just have like the people who are going to take care of you. And my sister is like 17, 18 years older than me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I have one full-blooded sister who is close to me in age. So we do count as actual, like from the psychological perspective, as real siblings. And then I have 2.
Calling it full-blooded though. Just,
instead of half-blood.
Yeah.
And 2 half-blooded sisters from my dad's first marriage, and much older than me. Although one of them was, this is not like, I think I've mentioned this before. She was murdered in Mexico. So like, one of them is dead. Yeah. I sometimes honestly forget that happened. Like like it seems like really like salacious news or whatever, but it's, to me, it's like, oh yeah, that happened. I forgot about that. Like I feel terrible that that's how how that information sits in my brain.
Yeah.
But
Wow. No, I don't think you've mentioned. I mean, that seems like news to my brain.
to you, okay. It didn't happen that long ago. It was only a few years ago. Maybe that's
wow.
one of the reasons why I haven't processed it completely yet.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, I definitely had not heard. Wow.
Feed my pussy. It is not time yet. She has to wait
Not
another
even
hour.
9. Yeah. Oh, I'm probably like putting up comments again because I keep forgetting what the last one was. So some of these are going to be shown twice, not or more than twice because
because of that. Yeah.
we're already having. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that happened.
and Mexico too.
Yeah, she was there illegally in an inverse of what we're used
Yeah,
to.
what you're yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unexpected to hear.
Unexpected information, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I also didn't know. I had no idea. It just reminds me of like Michael Jordan, like that. When I was watching his documentary and stuff beforehand, like I needed to make sure that I said the right name because I was scared I was going to say Jackson. Michael Jordan, the football, the basketball player. Holy crap, Michael Jordan, basketball player. But I never realized that his dad was murdered too. Like, wow, that's a lot to.
Oh, that actually reminds me. Did you know that Woody Harrelson's dad was a assassin?
No.
He was like a hitman for the mob.
It's amazing.
He confessed at one point in the 80s while he was in the middle of a like coked up LSD standoff with the police to killing JFK.
What? What?
Yes. He said he killed JFK. And he also said he killed another man while he was in that whole thing. And they actually convicted him for killing that man. So it's like, it's a little weird. Yeah, a judge. Yeah, he killed a judge. And they convicted him for killing that judge.
Paid assassin. I thought assassins are paid. I thought assassin is the definition that you are a professional killer.
Yeah, you have to be paid. Otherwise, you're just a serial killer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is news to Beverly, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. All of this is news to me. Although in what's the RPG called? City of Mist. I played. It was a pre-gen that I like built off of after it, but like the character, pre-generated character, for those of you who are not nerds, she was like brought back to life and part cyborg though because she had some, but so she was like an undead cyborg that had like some like powers and stuff too, and then by day, so like by night you're like this magical kind of like superhero thing, and then by day her job was an assassin. So I just made all my money killing people, so then I just like lived in like this penthouse and stuff too, and it just like got like really silly, and but then we're like saving the world in secret, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just murdering other people. It's a side thing. I'm being a hero, but I'm murdering others.
That kind of reminds me of Iceman, who was I watched an amazing interview of him. He killed people for the mob, but he also killed people just for the hell of it. Yeah. And like some of like it's kind of crazy because he's all like, in the interview, the guy's asking, how many people do you think you killed? He's like, I don't know, 100, 200 people. And they asked him later again I don't know, maybe 300 people. Like that number keeps going up. Like he's not completely there, like honestly.
Yeah, well, clearly, I would imagine. Someone who's that detached to be able to like just kill and be like nonchalant about it, like, yeah, you probably have some problems.
The Iceman interviews are really interesting to watch, by the way, because he was severely abused by both his parents as a kid, and like it, to me, the weirdest part about it is the fact that he worked for the mob as a hired killer and then also was a serial killer, because he would, it was so crazy because like one time like some teenagers cut him off on the road and he was like, that's it, and he went and he murdered them all. And it's like, that, okay, that's road rage.
A little extreme.
Yeah,
like, overreaction there, I think.
Yeah. But I always wanted to write a play about Iceman, but then they made a movie about him starring Michael Shannon that looks like shit, honestly.
I don't know, I'm trying to think of like, okay, people who are going to be hitmen in the mob, like you probably, I mean, I'm not surprised if you're just also going to be like a serial killer outside of it. Like if you're cool with killing, I don't know, or I mean, I'm sure not all of them are, like you kind of just do this thing where you justify like, this is, you know, my duty or family or whatever, though, too, like you're part of this biologically or not. But then there are others who are like, I just love killing. So
I know, he's like the meme. Here I go, killing again. Like the thing is though, is that like Iceman disproves so much of the psychological bullshit they have about serial killers. They're like, oh, they always kill in the same method. They always kill in the same area. Their first kill is always personal. Like they have all these fucking theories. I mean, they're mostly work for the FBI as profilers, but it's all bullshit.
I love Criminal Minds.
I know, but I love what Elementary, the way they took it down. When FBI profilers, they're like, you act like serial killers are these amazing intellectual geniuses so that you can feel so damn smart for taking one down when they're just animals looking for the next kill. And it was like, because it's pseudoscience. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, I know it's fun, but it's pseudoscience.
In my criminal justice class, which was the first time I watched Criminal Minds, because we played that in high school a few times. But that was one of the things too, where it was just kind of like, morally, is this okay to even do like profiling? Because when you're like making judgments about like certain people and behaviors and all that, and then not to mention where it's all psychology though too, which is a soft science. So it's like at least in Criminal Minds, they acknowledge that too, where sometimes they're like, oh, we got the profile wrong. Like they're like this, they have like different things where like it's a probability where like you're most likely that they behave this way or like this caused something or another though. But sometimes you're like, nope, we're totally off. Like this person.
I did like that about Criminal Minds. I agree. I watched a lot of Criminal Minds. I didn't finish it, but I watched a lot of it. And yeah, you're right. And
I would. Oh, go ahead.
They did do a lot where they said they got it wrong. Like, would you stop?
Yeah. That they're willing to, but then you also have the drama of that too, where it's just like, oh, like now we need to go and like we hurry because we were at the wrong spot or wrong person or whatever. But I wanted to do, since this is the pop culture show, news. Season 16 of Criminal Minds is coming, like that. Like they're rebooting it. It's called a reboot when you do it. They're coming. They're bringing it back. However, my favorite Matthew Ray Gubler is not going to be there, so we're not going to have Dr. Spencer Reed, and I'm really upset. And I'm kind of iffy on even watching it because like you're the whole reason that I watch. Even though when I first watched it, I hated him. Like I remember it was like season 4, episode 3, or season 3, episode 4. I'm like, he is super annoying. Like this guy, like his voice, like everything about him is just like this really annoying personality, and it's just great.
He was my immediate favorite. Immediately.
I hated him. And then after a few episodes, fell in love with him for like the next, how old am I now? 14 years.
He's awesome. Like I love that part where they go into this like trailer where it smells horrible and he's not reacting at all, and they're like, oh, and they're like breathing through their mouths, and he's like, keep breathing through your nose. The olfactory sense is the weakest, so eventually your brain will accept it and get over it. And I just love how nonchalant he is. It's like in the face of this decomposing body. Mm-hmm. Like he's so focused. He was my favorite character. He's one of those, I love the characters who just spit out fact after fact. They're the trivia people.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
every time.
grew to. I think the episode that I saw was when they went. It was actually supposed to be like a libertarian place though too, but it was a cult, and then they had to go in. He and Prentice went into there, and like, I don't know. I think it was just an episode that he happened to be like kind of annoying. Like I didn't, because then he's talking about like religious stuff too though, and I didn't know him as a character, so I'm like, I don't know what your whole situation is. It was just kind of like, this is annoying, and so he's like my least favorite, and then just changed that, and I would have loved him ever since. But yeah, he has an IQ of like 186. I did not like what.
Oh, I was just to say, George mentioned that he liked the guy from Princess Bride in the first few seasons, Mandy Patinkin. Mandy Patinkin left the show because he felt like the show was giving him nightmares.
Yeah, but then he went on to do, what was the other show that he did? Another like dark series though too. Was he in 24 or something else though, where it was just like, here's another thing with killers and stuff though, but like but he just thought like this is too dark for him, and I could see that, like just the way his character was too, where he was just like so in his head. I'm like, yeah, as an actor I bet like you take things to heart. I bet like this hits you.
Yeah, he did go on Homeland.
Yeah, that's it.
The thing is though is that like one thing I love about Mandy Patinkin, if you come up to him and you say, my name is Inigo Montoya, I'm here to kill you. Like, you kill my father, I'm here to, kill you. Like, he smiles.
Prepared to die.
Yeah, he smiles every time because he knows that's his big moment, in the cultural lexicon.
Yeah, and everyone.
Like, a lot of actors and like musicians, they hate it.
Get annoyed by like, oh, this is what you remember. I've done so much else, like you're only remembering this thing here. Like, no, like you're iconic. Like that is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, people remember, like people love that movie, and that line is so iconic. And so just like be happy that like, yeah, like you're remembered. Like people.
Yeah. I don't think James Earl Jones gets mad at people for saying, Luke, I am your father. Like, I don't, like, or this is CNN. Like, no, people don't get mad. I don't think he gets mad. I don't think you should get mad that people, like, literally know you as this thing that is always going to be remembered. That it's kind of pathetic to act that way. Honestly, I played Alan Wake. It was one of the first games I really played for my channel. And Alan Wake is an author based on Stephen King. And he is constantly in the game bitching about fans, like how much they like him for this one character. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like the entire time I'm playing, every time he gets mad about fans, I get mad at him. And like you can see me losing my fucking shit. Exactly.
Yeah.
You be grateful.
Like people appreciating the work that I've done, and like, yeah, like you don't get upset by them being
it's
interested.
just so mean to be. It's like you take up like real estate in these people's lives. So many random people's lives care about something that you've done. Most people do live an entire life where only people that they have like a direct relationship with. Is that true? So to take it for granted is,
for me, I don't have that personal at all either. So
it's just
don't take it for granted.
It's so shitty to take it for granted. Like I appreciate that about Mandy Patinkin, that he has always been really like happy that people like love this and recognize that it's him, because he does look almost completely different than he did in The Princess Bride.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he looks like currently, but like I could still see it. I'm like, oh yeah, like you could see it in your face. It's just wider, older, but like the nose and everything though. Like I can still see it. But yeah, I agree with that. Also, I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about plays, I've always wanted to do I never ended up writing it, but like a choose your own adventure play. So then you have like multiple directions, so you get the audience to like vote like A, B, C, D of where like cool. of where like it would pause and stuff too. So like you freeze it and then you get, I don't know, like applause or something to do it. And then like, so all the actors have to memorize, like remember all the different directions that this can go.
That would be hard, but it would be
That'd
It'd be
challenging.
highly engaging.
Mhm.
I agree with that. I will admit something about how my mind works, and I think this is true of some other people too, because some people have agreed with me on this. When it comes to a stage play versus watching a TV show or movie, my suspension of disbelief drops like it's so much lower. Like I just do not, like, you could say in this blank area is another person, and I'm just like, sure, totally. You do that in a movie, and I'm like,
no, like you
is it
have
though?
yeah, because you can edit or think about what that meant when it drops though. So it's just like, does that mean that you expect more or less from it? But yeah, I mean that's what improv is too, though, and that's what makes improv work more sometimes when because like you don't have any scenery, so you're just like sitting there, and a lot of times you wear like black or something because that way like you can be neutral, and then that way you can just like people can use their imaginations when you're like, I'm in, you know, like, oh, where my big poofy dress or whatever, like, okay, like, yeah, I can picture that. But what's great without having the scenery is that sometimes like when you do misdirection, and then that's what can be funny about it too, because everyone's like watching something and like you have something in your mind, and then you just like go the opposite direction. You're like, oh, I didn't know that's what was going on here, and so like that's what makes it great. So sometimes like simpler scenery can be better, and for improv you have like none. But even in plays too, yeah, you just kind of like it can be such a simple backdrop or something though, and you're like, yeah, here's a big city, or like here's just like one house, but like we live in a big community and stuff too, but like we're only seeing this part here. Have you ever watched the movie Low?
No, I've never even heard of it.
I haven't seen it in years and years and years, but it's done kind of like it's a weird like sort of play. I don't even know how to describe it. It's filmed, but everything is done kind of like, here's like fake play stuff where like when you're kind of doing flashbacks, like it's about a demon and then and a guy and a love interest or something with like two humans. And I remember a girl's name was April, but I don't remember much at all. But I remember it was just kind of like artsy, and that the way it was filmed was kind of like, here's like the stage, like little stage productions in the middle of like the void. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and it just reminded me of that when talking about like stage scenery.
This
And
like
Low,
black box theater on like black box film almost.
yeah, okay, and LO is the word. So it's a experimental comedy / horror / romance film, written and directed
Wow,
by
that's a
Travis. Yeah, so I think he like summons it. I think that's what it was. Like his heart breaks, and not figuratively, he gets heartbroken, and he summons a demon, and then he's talking to the demon. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just remembering the plot of what happens, and I won't spoil it, but people should. I need to rewatch it too. But Low, LO. So I should put that in the movies that Beverly needs to watch, but in the reverse, where everyone else needs to watch it. But yeah, so that was a fun film. To go to chat, I need to respond. G-Man says libertarians are kind of culty. I mean, I've talked about it, I think, off air more, where I think I'm my umbrella for libertarians is really, really wide. So it's just like anyone who's not if you're less into government, you're a libertarian though. Like if you're not authoritarian, there's just like that middle point, and we're like, I want government less, and so everyone over there is libertarian. William says, Beverly, your ducks are a blast. Well, I do have ducks, but the ones that are on the videos more are geese, to be technical. But thank you. Lemongrass, and then the baby, which I still haven't officially named. Baby Grab, Lemon Junior, Lemon Baby. I'm probably gonna end up going with Lemon Junior. But right now, I'm supposed to just say the baby. Where's the baby?
It's so cute.
He's so
like,
big.
and they do grow fast. My God.
Yeah, like even I hold him in my hand beforehand, but now it's just like two hands. Like he's sticking out, and he's only like a week and a half. What were you saying?
Oh, just that, like, I think it's kind of funny. Like human beings, we react so viscerally to the fact that animals grow so fast from infancy. And a big part of the reason is that human beings spend more time in infancy, like comparatively, because of the fact that like our brains are so big, we had to birth way early. Like it was like I think someone called it an arms race between women's hips and babies' skulls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then our what's it called? The growth period in the womb. Oh, I can't think of the term right now. Does it start with P?
Gestation?
Gestation, yeah. Ooh.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
Oh,
really
I'm thinking of the
hard
word
at that.
period. That's why P. Gestation period is long for most other animals too. But yeah, then I struggled. Thank you for being there for me, because that happens to me all the time where I'm like, it's on the tip of my tongue. Like it's just like I have to use a bunch of other words to describe this like one simple word here too, because I'm like, I can't think of what
what word you're thinking of.
Yeah, I've forgotten like words like this before, where I'm like, it starts with a T. And it used to
Oh
be
god.
I used to be more concerned about like I don't know, my brain malfunctioning with words and stuff. But then when I was doing more improv in Chicago, it ended up being more of a blessing, because like, oh, I'm going to say, like, I can't think of the right word. I'm just going to throw in like, but you're having like, I'm saying a sentence right now and I need to finish the sentence. So I say like just whatever filler word. And then that ends up being like, oh, here's the new bit that we're doing though. Cause the one that I always jump to is I couldn't remember like autograph book. And so I was asking for someone's autograph and I asked them to sign my calendar instead. And so then it just became like a recurring, like everyone was asking for like either other weird things to be signed or like whatever stuff like that, where I was like, okay, I can roll with this. Like, who cares about fixing my memory, despite whatever, major neurological issues I might be suffering from, because this works. G-Man had also, go ahead.
I was going to say that when you are missing, there is actually a name for the phenomenon of missing a word and having it on the tip of your tongue, which, by the way, every time you are actually able to recall it without help from someone else, it will get harder the next time you forget it.
It'll get harder?
Harder.
Wait, it'll get harder to why? Why is that worse? Wait, it'll be harder for me to remember it the next time I forget it?
Yes, it will.
Why?
I'm not sure why, but it's something about how our memories work and how, like, because the what part of our brain, which is actually, there is actually a specific part of our brain that deals with diction, with our ability to recall words. They call it the what section of our brain. It's also known as the temporal lobe, left temporal lobe specifically. And it hates having to work for things, and like every time you make it work for something, it's like it gets angrier.
Get in denial about it, or okay.
So yeah, it's like no.
Just to make sure I understand, it's that if I forget the word gestation and then I'm trying to remember it on my own, I'm like, oh, I figured it out by myself without help. Next time I forget it again, my brain's like, we are not going to remember this. Like,
it'll take longer for the word to recall.
Yeah,
like,
so it's going to be more difficult.
It's really weird because basically by having someone help you, you just disrupt the loop that the temporal lobe is in.
Okay, good. So I usually need someone else to help me out with it too. So good.
It's much better to actually choose a different word or to just wait for someone to help you. Because your brain is going to be better at recalling it the next time otherwise. It's really strange. I have read studies on it, and it kind of makes me laugh because I actually have really good diction. Usually I remember the words I need to remember without struggling. But when I do struggle, I basically just go, I'm choosing another word. Like that is my my default. I'm like, choose another word. There is another word, there has to be, so just choose a different word.
I just like to just describe it, like, this is the meaning of the word I'm trying to use though, and then, but sometimes I don't, or I say like it doesn't even always start with it. That's why I'm like, oh, I'm remembering a different letter in it, or or a different part of the word, like period for gestation, and then, but then someone else, for G-Man, I won't say who, but someone else that I know closely, he's usually the one to like he'll know the word that I'm trying to like think of, and but then I usually stop. I'm like, no, it's like the the thing with this, and sometimes I'm really bad. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like that thing before where it's the at the and so he'll get it a lot of times too because he's just like
He's making motions and stuff. Yeah. I remember, like, we were talking about gestation, and I saw someone had said, online somewhere once, I can't imagine having twins. Can you imagine gestating for 18 months? And I was like,
that's just
they didn't say gestating. I think they said being pregnant because
Oh.
they're not smart enough to know the word gestating. But like, I was.
Well, it seems like that's calling me out then because I
But it was like intense because it's like, did you literally just you literally believe that? Like sometimes like people send me videos of people being asked questions and getting the answers like incredibly fucking wrong.
That's what one of my Twitter videos
It is. Yeah.
Blackpilled by Gen Z. So it'll be good to get into that in just a moment. But yes, I mean, like not.
Oh my god.
Oh, there's a different one too that we saw. Like they're both from the one was from Discord that I have here, and there was another one from Discord too. I should find that one too. But like I think we both had watched that first one. But
yeah, I put one in Discord. I remember that someone sent me that one, and I put it in Discord because I thought it was
showing
horrible.
might be one that you sent to. I don't remember who showed what, but yeah, I don't know. But my memory has got, I don't know. It's weird. Like I can remember very particular. I remember, like I've said, like birthdays and stuff. But then there are other like words that I forget or more arbitrary ideas where I'm like, yeah, I remember this part of the conversation that we had, but it was less important than the thing that I should have remembered that I totally don't like recall ever happening. But like that was, I don't know. G-Man for a name Lemon Drop. I do like Lemon Drop. That sounds cute. But I was trying to go with something related to Adventure Time, and there are other names of the lemon people, but they were not good names. It was like one was Lemon Head, one was Lemon Plop. I kind of like Lemon Plop actually.
I like Lemon Plop.
That sounds kind of cute. I just call him Little Plop. I might call him Plop.
Yeah.
Elephants. When I was reading it before, I didn't like it, but now saying it out loud, I have a D&D NPC that I, as a dungeon master, that and his name. Oh no, actually, I started it as a player character first of my own, and I called him Plol because sometimes for names of things, I just throw out random letters and then like write them down until I have a name. So then it's just like, and I wrote like PLOL. Like, yep, use that as a name. So elephants gestate for 22 months. Oh, I was going to say too about the pregnancy thing. I remember however many years ago it was when I learned, because I was, everyone always says 9 months. And then my aunt, who's a nurse, was talking about like that women are pregnant for 40 weeks. And then I was like doing the math. I'm like, but that's like, if like 4 weeks per month, that's like 10 months. My brain could not comprehend how that worked, and it was just like, oh, the 9 months is just like wrong, and then 40 weeks isn't always exactly 10 months and stuff either though. But and ever since then I'm bothered anytime it's just like pregnancy is 9 months. I'm like, well, technically it's 40. So just always need to correct.
I know. Well, I mean, part of the reason why they say 9 months is because so many months are not they're more than 4 weeks. So that means like over time it would add up to extra weeks, to maybe an extra week or two,
Yeah.
And I'm not sure.
36 weeks is where you can have where that's not considered premature. Remembered it. Yes. Oh no, I remembered the word and I'm gonna forget it next time. Of premature, but so 36 weeks is like where it's like solidly okay, but so maybe they also count that where it's like, oh, 9 months is where it starts, and then you can go up to the 40 weeks. Chances Beverly is afraid she won't have any words left. Yeah.
They do induce women who go past 40 now. Like they won't let them go really long. Like I know that for a fact. They're like, no, because it's dangerous. It's dangerous to go too long. Like pregnancy is very hard on the body.
some sort of horror anthology that I watched. One of them was that the woman wanted to hold in her baby until her husband came home from like war or something, and then she just never gave birth, and then the baby just like grew inside her and like was talking to her and stuff, and eventually took over her body, and
Oh
then
my god.
the dad came home to his wife/child. So you
Don't
can
tell
guess.
me what happened next because I'm imagining it and I'm not happy and I don't want confirmation.
It ended, but I think it hinted toward where it was going to go from there, like where it started, where it was leading to. So, yeah, and that's ingrained in my brain forever now. We've got 69mega.com in chat. Is that because we were talking about pregnancy? I don't like, was it because then that's implied sex or something? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't remember. February's only.
Oh, then I don't know though. I talked about my sex comedy play earlier.
Oh yeah, true. So he says sex. Oh, and now that's it's a minute inward. I can't say cunt before like 60 seconds in because then YouTube gets mad, but they're less mad when you say cunt later on, right? We'll see.
Yes.
Might get demonetized or limited later, but we'll find out. Okay, so we have drifted a lot, but I love the conversations that we've had so far. But we'll jump over to. It's okay because I think day shift. I don't have a ton to say about that anyway. But I mean, it was fun, but like I don't think I'll be as in depth. Hey, let me share the black pill video. So yeah, I can't remember if this is the one that you shared or if Zapple or
We'll see.
whoever else was. Is this the right one? Yeah. And slowly going.
I don't think this is the one I shared.
Okay, then prepare to be sad.
How many stars are on the United States flag?
103?
103?
Yeah. 32.
What ocean is on the east side of the United States?
What ocean? Google it.
You guys know this.
I know this. I don't know this.
What country is the Queen of England?
I'm not a politics guy. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know. I really don't know.
Just take a guess. Like, what country is the Queen of England from?
Europe? I don't know. I don't know. I just took a guess.
What's the capital of the United States?
There's a capital? What?
Yes.
Lexi?
Take a guess.
I don't know. Probably California.
Yeah, that's right.
It is?
No, the United States. Do we know?
Stop! I knew he was gonna embarrass us. I know, wait. I don't even want to think because I don't want to sound dumb.
Well, just
There's no capital of the United States. Is there no capital?
correct.
Right?
No. You guys are UCLA
We literally
students?
go to UCLA. It's yeah.
Who was the first president of the United States?
Abraham Lincoln.
Can you name the three Kardashian sisters?
Kim, Courtney, and Chloe.
What are the three Kardashian sisters' names?
Courtney, Kim, and Chloe.
Chloe,
Kim,
Courtney,
and Courtney.
yeah.
Bonus points for the brother.
Robert.
The Kardashians' brother's name. What?
Rob.
What are the Kardashian sisters' names?
I don't even know. I ain't gonna lie. Don't know.
That one, you get respect for me on that one.
At least he didn't know either.
Yeah. So that certainly black pilled me when I watched that before.
Well, someone sent me one of those and I put it in the Discord.
Like
thing about U.S. history
war.
or a history one, yeah. And the thing is, though, we had a conversation about it afterwards, and he mentioned something that was probably pretty true. These videos are edited, and they only capture those most outrageous answers. People who get it right, they're not going to include those people.
Sure.
How many people do they ask? I mean, it's sad that there are people who are this stupid and unaware. I agree. But honestly, they are just, it's a selective process. They're going to show us the worst ones. They are.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what white pills mean, is that like not everyone is as idiotic as they are, but the fact that any of them exist at all like that, like how 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 do you graduate high school and get into college, which is supposed to be that, like, having
having
no
taught college and a gen ed at college and an open enrollment college, by the way. So this means anyone can come to my college. Like when I taught there was a student who spelled the DA because no one told him
ever
in all the years that he went to public school how to spell the. And that's why I do not support public education.
Yeah.
Because I taught at a university and I saw exactly how poorly they were actually teaching. It's not education, it's babysitting. So yeah, like
Yeah,
and how many people failed him by not failing him?
And when I was in college, I was a math tutor and also film tutor, and but I remember like some people coming in, like it was an art school and it was also pretty much an open room. Like I think pretty much there was for profit, and I think they pretty much, which I was okay with, like, accept anyone into the school, but then the graduation rate was really low because it was like, well, you actually have to do work and show up to graduate. So I was actually like, okay, like, I don't care if you let them in, and like as long as not everyone's getting a degree, like, but so it's an art school and so many of them did not know math, but like some are like really really basic thing, like just simple addition and stuff, and I kept wondering, like, how did you graduate high school without understanding this at all, like really basic stuff, and then seeing more of it too. It's just, you have the No Child Left Behind, Common Core, and all that really, like, well, that just screws up so many people, like, like you're not going to get the help that you need to actually learn because you're just going to be pushed through now.
Yeah, I was lucky. I with my learning disability, like it could have, like, if I was later, I would have been screwed. Like, honestly, I think I would have been screwed. If my parents hadn't moved to the suburbs to a better school district, I would have been screwed. I never would have learned how to read or write, at a real level. And because no one was meeting my needs at the school I was at before, and I would have been screwed. I can't, like, all this stuff about removing testing to me is terrifying, because standardized testing is how I was able to succeed with my learning disability. Because here's the thing, is that, like, some learning disabilities make it hard for you to do homework. Homework is shitty. Some of them make it hard for you to perform in class. Some make it hard for you to take tests. It kind of just depends. Like, what is your learning disability?
Mm-hmm.
If mine was hard to perform in class and hard to do homework, great on tests. My God, it's excellent on tests. If them getting rid of tests, they're basically saying, go fuck yourself to so many students.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like, you have to, I believe as an educator, you have to have multiple forms of being able to look at students to see their progress, because otherwise you're screwing over a segment of the population. Because there are a lot of kids out there, having been an educator, who have undiagnosed learning disabilities or have been underserved at their public institutions. Honestly, like, it's crazy how bad it is out there, which is one of the reasons why I don't support public education anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I saw how horrible it was, like, on a grand scale. Like, these kids are graduating without being able to read. And I don't see how this is helping our society. They constantly, in the public education, like pro public education people, they're constantly going, oh, it's for the good of the society. What good does graduating someone who doesn't know how to spell the word the do? Like, you're lying to us if you're saying that's why, because that's bullshit.
Yeah. So I never I mean, I wasn't fully an educator. I mean, I definitely wasn't, but I did work at an after-school program for middle schoolers, and then like I was a tutor, but also like assistant teacher, I guess. Um,
Mhm.
but stuff that I've thought about just generally for like public schools is how, at the very least, like people learn so differently, like and it's too difficult. You have like one teacher to however many students. Like one, I think like at most it should be like maybe 10. Um, but I but I also think it's better too that if everyone learns differently, and it'd be better rather than just like, oh, we have different teachers teaching various subjects or various or like even the same subjects, but you just have a bunch because whatever the school. But I think at least you could try to do it where like, hey, this teacher is teaching it in a certain way that like that even if you can't do individual, like the style of learning is different for like, and you figure out like how can these kids learn similarly. And even for like boys and girls, that's biologically, if we're going to be allowed to talk about that, is that like a lot of times they might be learning different. Like boys want to be more active, like that's what girls are okay, like sitting and reading and all that too, but boys are going to have more energy and all that, so they would tend to like not be able to learn as well necessarily, just sitting and in class at desks. So that's why like I think if you can cater to at least groups in a little bit more individualized way, even if it's not like purely individual, that might help people. So it's like, oh, you struggle with like reading or something, like I don't know, and I never like thought like exactly like because it would really be dependent on the students that you have still, but yeah, I mean, so that's why I think public school sucks as is, and I don't advocate for it at all either.
What are the, like, I don't think a one size fits all approach is appropriate for education, and I think that's what a lot of the problem is with public education, is that it kind of brings that to the table.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, is that they need more funding, they need more funding, they need more funding. They keep saying that, and I keep saying we spend more per student than we ever have before in the history of the country. That's true, like across the board. And where is that money going? It's almost always mismanagement of funds. That's almost always the answer when it comes to what's wrong with like why you keep saying you need more money, but we keep putting more money into a system, is because you have people at the top who are making an insane amount of money, or you've made a bunch of jobs that don't actually mean anything that people use to make money. Like, this happens a lot. In New York City, there are teachers that don't teach, that get a paycheck. They come into a room by themselves all day, and they just make money. And it's like, yeah, that's mismanagement of funds. That's what we're looking at here. And it's like, yeah, you could have a lot of more, probably more parasocial teachers, more in the way of, you know, EIP focused professionals. But the problem is that you're not doing that. No matter how much money we give the public education system, they don't do that. That's the lie they tell us, to give them more money.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, like on a bigger scale with just government stuff too. Like, oh, we to help out everyone though too. Like, we need more higher taxes because we could do more good with all. Like, well, first see where all the money's going, and I think we can probably cut a lot of the fat. And like, if we're going to keep the same amount, we can put the money that we already are paying towards somewhere else. But then but I cut everything pretty much. So.
Well, that's the problem though, is that the people who have so much power are not going to let you do that. They keep they're like, no, we need this money. And it's like, why do you need this money? Why do you need a second house? Like, I don't know. Like, why are we paying for your second house? Yeah, I know.
And yeah, you have the politicians who are like, how you're a millionaire as this politician? I should not be making that much money.
I
wonder what's going on. I know.
Yeah, I know. There's so many people where it's like they were like Chuck Schumer. Someone put in, I think it was Art Taking Back, that's his Twitter handle. He put out like how much money Chuck Schumer makes and what his worth is, and it's millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and it's like, why?
and then I have like, you know, my liberal friends stuff too, who are like, oh, like we need more taxes, we need more blah, 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 to help people out. Like, how do you still trust politicians? Like, I should just bring up on my phone then too, like, here's the net worth of each politician, and you tell me if our money is being spent well, if they're getting all this, like, and like, or even if it's not tax money, like, what are they doing under the table that's getting them that money though too? Like, how can you still trust them? And I haven't had that conversations in real life with people like that for a while though. So, but this is what
I
would-
like it. Speaking of like money and everything, like everyone's talking about the student loan thing. So I do have student loans. This will probably wipe out the rest of my student loans because I have been paying mine down since I graduated from college.
Paid mine off beforehand, and so like my friend who's a boy was saying, it said that like, oh, you'll get 10,000 back now, and I'm like, from what? Like, I won't. I've already like I paid mine off like earlier this year or something though too, and so it's just like, I'm not gonna get anything back now. I had to pay it all off myself. Well,
I called it I call it aspirin, for aspirin for the headache you have from a brain tumor. That's what student loan forgiveness is. It doesn't solve any of the issues, because here's the thing: universities, they have so many new positions over the last like 40 years that make shit tons of money, and tuition has been going up like crazy. It's been, and one of the reasons why is because of the loan system for students. And legitimately, I took student loans mostly because of my learning disability. I tried working while going to college and it didn't fucking work. I was failing my classes. I needed to devote that time to study. Otherwise, I was not going to be successful at university. That's why I took student loans. I didn't want to, but I knew that I was supposed to pay them off. Like, that was not a question to me. And I started paying them off. But like, to me, a big part of the problem here is that why is the government in loans in the first place? They take our money. They take everybody's money, like businesses and like individuals. They take so much taxes from us, and then they loan it back to the individual to earn interest on it. And I'm like, why? Do you see how that's a racket?
Yeah, and I was also surprised. I always thought that it was like there were just government businesses too. And then when I saw like things being deferred and then like my loans being transferred to other companies, it made me realize that like, oh, you're private businesses who like contract through the government and stuff, like Fed loan and all that too. So I always just thought like you're just a government company, though I hadn't thought about them being like their own. But yeah, instead of like paying all these taxes and stuff, you could just be paying your student loans. I was not as wise about, well, I was not, I was always a saver, but I don't think my family member it was as much as good as money with that. So I always just kind of thought like, oh, you go in, you take loans. Like, that's just what everyone does though too. Like, you have to take loans and to get a college degree, but that's what everyone does. This is just the way it goes. And I always thought like, I'm never going to finish paying it off. Like, it was kind of a set thing where I'm like, yeah, you pay it. Like, everyone I know just is still paying off their loans forever and ever. And like, that's just the thing. So it wasn't something that I really consciously thought about until later on, and I wish it had been though. I mean, and it worked out, but it was just like, I wish I had understood more that like, oh, don't take out loans. If you like everything else now, we just pay in cash and stuff too, because I don't want to have to have any sort of debt. Like, the mortgage is the only thing I have now, but at least you're getting like a physical value for what you're paying on, instead of like even renting an apartment where you're just like, oh, I'm paying into this, but like I'm not get anything out of it afterward. Like, I'm not buying anything. So
I mean, I think there's a lot going on from the college's perspective when it comes to these loans. They don't care. Most universities don't care if you're ever going to pay back your student loan. They don't care if you can get a job with the degree you used to pay for that loan. They don't care. They got their money. They're good. So they have all these freaking employees designed around getting you to sign that paperwork and they have absolutely no reason why they shouldn't get you to sign that paperwork, because they have no punishment if you default on your loans. Like, because very little, like most people go, oh, well, you went to Harvard, that's so awesome, and or you went to Northwestern or whatever, you pick your college, whatever, and that's so good for you, except you have a degree in something that is completely useless, and the university doesn't really care if you ever got a job. I saw someone was bitching about the fact that they worked at Wendy's and they had a philosophy doctorate in a specialty that they could never get a job in.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, that university failed that person, like hard fucking core.
What do you do with a philosophy degree anyway, outside of like teach?
You start a YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube channel, teach.
But like, usually he wanted to go into a professor position. The thing is, though, is a lot of academic departments are about building more professorship. Like, they build on the idea that you are the next stage. But at the same time, from the administrative standpoint, they're like, you need this many students every semester. You need to have this many students graduating. Not necessarily. There's not enough demand for those professors. So the problem is that then they're like pushing all these people to get these degrees and without supply, so they're upping the supply of these people with these degrees when there is not demand to meet it.
Mm-hmm.
So then people end up working at fucking Wendy's. And my problem with that is that, like, for one thing, you shouldn't go to grad school and have to pay any loans. Because, and this is important, traditionally, a grad school is supposed to give you either a teaching positionship, the teaching position, like even as a TA, like you're not necessarily actually teaching, but you're assisting, whatever. Right. And that like wipes out your tuition costs, or they give you enough grants and scholarships that you don't have to pay for it. But they're not doing that anymore, and they stopped doing it. They're like, no, pay us this much money, and it's because we need to get our numbers up. It's really shitty.
Yeah, I mean, my friend, I think she had most of hers paid for like through grants and stuff too, or for a grad degree, and I guess I was lucky that like half of mine was expensive, but like half of it I got through like scholarships and grants. And I remember like working, like they had the big financial aid people, so like they just sit with you and like, okay, like we'll fill out a bunch of things. So like she did most of the work. I remember that woman. She just like did most of the work with me. I'm like, okay, you got me like 50 grand in grants and scholarships. Cool. I don't really have to do. So I just had to pay the rest of it off. But yeah,
I specifically tried to go to cheaper schools, honestly. And I still, because of my learning disability, I still ended up having to take out some loans, but not a lot. It wasn't a lot, but there shouldn't be, honestly, if your loans are owned by the government, they shouldn't be charging you interest on it, because it's kind of, it's like, you gave me that money from other people, from taxes people have paid. So that's not really even your money. That if you're saying that this money is about the public good, then you shouldn't be fucking charging interest on it. That's a little like racketeering to me. It feels a little like not actually about the public good. We actually just want to make more money off of you. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, yeah, like at least admit that, because that's me. I'm like, you're a business. Like I said, like if you're contracting with the government, at least just admit we're here to make money, and like don't try to claim that like we're doing this to help people. Like, no, like this is a business of taking out, like we're gonna lend people money, and the way, and like credit cards and stuff do it the same way too. Like you get to pay this, like we're paying it right now and you pay it off later, but we make our money through people through interest and stuff too, people not paying it all off, and like people get into debt, but like that's the business that they run. Like that's how credit cards work. So at least admit to it that you're like, we're not doing this like charitably, like this is money. I would say like don't go into loans. And someone had G-Man had said trade schools. Yeah, like I'm very much, I think that's way better. Like especially like a degree, when you're like, unless you know that like the degree that there's a job out there for the degree you're getting. Like if you're going to get it in gender studies or whatever, though, like where it's iffy on it. There's so even like I have a film degree, but like you don't even need that anymore. Like especially now, like with the internet and everything too. Like people, you just don't need that. And I'm really advocating now that like unless you really need a degree, like a doctorate or something that like requires to practice a law degree and stuff, then you probably don't need it. And trade schools would be better, or at least like apprenticeships or something though too, where you can just kind of get in on. But I know it's difficult though. Like it's hard to. People are still in the mindset like you need the degree or you need the experience first. So that was my problem in Chicago, where it was like everyone saying that like, oh, entry level to do anything in film was still 5 years of experience to be entry level. And I'm like,
How do you entry? Yeah.
Yeah.
When I graduated, it was almost fucking possible to get a job because like entry level was like you already had all this experience. And like honestly, it was there was a difficult period out there, especially after the 2008 crash, where it didn't fucking matter. Like there were so many people per job opening like trying to get it, and there were people like way older than me with way more experience for every job, and it was really difficult. And I mean, I still ended up working my ass off. I found ways of making money, but like I was never one of those people who was like, oh, I live off of daddy's paycheck. Well, I mean, by that point, my father had already passed away. But like, like this idea that like, like, and this is something that comes up in identity politics a lot, is that like, oh, white people can get get by, and it's like, I don't know. I worked my ass off after college, and it was hard because the market crashed not long before I graduated, and by that point I couldn't go into academia because of the fact that they had overflooded all of the liberal arts with people, and like basically you have to have a PhD to have this adjunct position, and it was like, are you kidding me? There's no job security, there's no healthcare in having an adjunct position. You could fire me after a semester, it wouldn't matter, like, or just not renew my contract. That's what it really is. So it's like they give this lie. It is a lie. The universities are lying to these students, basically saying that, oh yeah, there's a place for you in the especially for liberal arts in the university system forever. No, there's not. They're lying. They're lying, and they don't care.
Yeah, so I'll say too that like my school wasn't a trade school, but it was considered an art school, but it was done like really businessy. But what I liked about it though, it kind of seemed like a trade school a bit, because like it was really hands on. Like we had like each floor was kind of like, we have the industrial. What was it called? Industrial arts. Like there was like the VFX people, the game art design, the industrial ones, the special effects, like where they got to like create, like they had the machinery and other things too. It's like, it was actually cool. And my main reason for going though was that it was an accelerated program. So it went year round and I could graduate in 3 years, and they didn't start you off with just gen ed. Like I was so sick of high school by like 10th grade, because I'm like, I already know how to read. I already know how to, like, and it was just the same thing. So instead of just only doing the first 2 years of gen ed classes, they threw you in your core classes immediately. And so I did like that. But that's what I still think that, yeah, like regular college, like it's, you have all these unnecessary classes, like the degree, like it's just not, I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it anymore. And then especially with all the woke stuff going on. But I think going into trade school, like something very specific, even in high school, we had the VOTech, the vocational technology school. So I didn't even know like a bunch of my classmates anymore, because like by 10th grade, I didn't see them because they'd spent like some of their gen ed classes, and then the rest of the time they were over at another building in another town where like they got to do actual. I remember like cosmetology was one of the things, but then whatever other stuff too that people they got to work on, but which I thought was awesome, that you're like, okay, like you kind of know that you're doing some sort of like more specific thing or trade or whatever. And I think a lot of high schools should get more into that too. Well, I say that with the caveat that if people already know how to read, like I'm hesitant now seeing how retarded people are that are getting through and graduating in high school. But like if people were like at a good level of learning and stuff, then I think by like 15 you can start getting into more specific areas that like maybe you don't have to dedicate your whole life to eventually, but like, you know, testing stuff out to see. In Japan, high school is not a and everyone goes to high school, though you have to apply to get in, and people who don't get into high school just go into work, and that starts at like 15 years old. So it's, I kind of think that like it's at an age where you can start at least thinking about like more specifically of like what you want to do with your life, without having to make that like decision fully.
I do think I like professional training programs, and some universities are now focusing on that. Not all of them. The highfalutin ones who think that their shit doesn't stink, they don't do that. But the ones that are who realize that like there's a need in the market for this kind of job, we can do a fast track professional program to get those people out there, you know, and like I can see how that is both meeting the needs of the market and meeting the needs of education at the same time. The problem is that like I think it's actually the liberal arts, like liberal, that is the real problem. These people they think their shit don't stink, but at the same time as putting on that veneer of you know, this veneer of like we're so awesome and above the basic needs of life. You know, society should support our ideas, but at the same time, everybody come into our program so that we can have our numbers.
Well, yeah, I don't know. And when you mentioned before too about like people are just like living off of, I don't know, like not. There are people who do that. Not everyone can. Like I grew up poor and everything too. I worked, so even without getting into the field, like I've worked like 4 part-time jobs at once just to save up money to move to Chicago. And then I was in Chicago just to afford to live there. Like I'm working 4 part-time jobs. Like I guess I don't know. I'm thinking about like people who, despite whether they have the degree or not, they're just like the lack of interest or willingness to like really work, and then you're just kind of like, well, I need to have government and stuff take care of me and all that too, or like just complain about not being able to do anything.
Although I will say this about public education and gen eds is that my understanding is that it's not just that there are uneducated or undereducated kids getting in college that probably should or are not going to be successful because they don't know how to like write basic sentences or do basic math. It's not just that. They are telling every student in high school that they have to go to college to be able to get a job. This is not true. And the problem with that is that like then you have all these students who are just bored out of their minds and they don't care and they're super lazy. And then because of the fact that universities are starting to run themselves more like businesses, we have this issue where they keep dumbing down the education and dumbing it down and dumbing it down and dumbing it down, because you can't have your students be unsatisfied. God forbid one of them should get an F because they didn't turn anything in the whole semester. Like, and that's another problem. It's like, don't get the lazy students in there too. Yeah. Like, God. And then that's one of my problems though with gen eds. Like I get the idea that like you want everyone to have a general education, but they should be getting that in high school. Honestly,
yeah, I don't get like a degree in that. Like, what are you gonna do? Yeah, that you're generally educated. Like, okay, well, you didn't need that. Like, if you're just gonna have like the everyman sort of thing, like just get a job, then do something like you want to have something that you're just going to be, you know, specific toward. But I don't know.
I mean, in most jobs, you can learn on the job. Like,
yeah, that's the thing. Now that they're starting, like I don't think enough do that, but like I think that's the best way, because even stuff when you know, like, oh, I understand this idea, like, like I have a degree in it, but each job is different though. So it's like we do things a certain way here, like, okay, well, just train me and I'll do it for free. Like, if you don't have to pay me for that, like, if I'm gonna get paid, train me first. And then, like, I'm willing to do that. Like, that's, but I do think that a lot of, maybe they're starting to do it now, but I do think that was an issue when job searching beforehand, where it was just like, okay, I don't really know. What's nice, even with Unsafe Space, I started off as a volunteer, but like, there are a lot of things with edit, like I'm rusty on stuff, but there are certain things I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but I'll learn it. Like, I'm figuring it out and trying to like, okay, I got to do this like new intro or learn how to do this in After Effects, but it's just part of it. We're like, okay, and Carter can be understanding where it's just like, yeah, like, like we're all learning how to do stuff. So.
Well, I mean, when it comes to my YouTube channel and all this stuff, I learned how to do this on my own. No one taught. I didn't learn this in college. I didn't like all this stuff. I just researched it on my own. And I actually have quite a bit of experience beyond teaching in training. So like onboarding employees. And this is my understanding, is that like there is no such thing as a turnkey employee, because every company has their own processes. They have their specific softwares that they like to use, and they even alter their software. Like, they have special things they want to do with their software that maybe it wasn't designed to do in the first place, but they made it work, and so to me, I'm always sort of like, there's no such thing as a turnkey employee. Train them on the job. That's what real entry level positions should be. And for the most part, there's not a lot of jobs, especially in the corporate like office world, where you actually need to know things. Like, I'm sorry, but I know that's sacrilege to the corporate world and to HR, but it's true. You can, I mean, if you're not an appalling duffer and your brain is any bit elastic, you can learn almost any job.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I would say anything, because even I was trying to think of like what's one they can't, but even like surgery or something where it's just like, yeah, it's difficult to like, you need to be careful of the practicing and stuff too, but like anyone can eventually like learn with enough practice and everything. But okay, well, since I know that we should still do day shift, but it's late, so we'll jump to that topic and try and keep, like I said, I don't think I have a ton to talk about, but we had what I think is an interesting conversation, but I'm gonna push for this other film. Oh, also, I wanted to know earlier, real quick, someone, who was it? Raphael had said 3.1416 and then said hardcore pie. And then we got a bunch of spam. And I'm wondering if it was because he wrote hardcore in there, which I hope, and then put oops afterward. And I think that was after all of the spam had come in. And because it was brought up, I'm just going to go ahead and do it real quick. 3.141592638462638841974193950288607816208998628034853421170679.
And all the nerds have hard-ons.
And I can forget all the words ever, but numbers a lot of times will stick in my brain.
Well, let's talk day shift then. We did get off topic because of that video about people not getting.
Well, you can finish your thought though too.
Well, I will say this: I did see a video where a guy, it was kind of a white pill. It's kind of the inverse of that. He was going around a university asking people questions like that. What's the smallest state in the United States? What's the biggest state in the United States? How many states are there? When was the Constitution founded? Like mostly U.S. history. What's the biggest animal in the world, though? Like some of them were more general. And like the point was, you got 5 in a row right. He gave you $1,000.
Ooh.
And he actually had 4 winners, and then a 5th. When the 5th one goes, actually, you're wrong. Let me show you why you're wrong. And it was a total white pill that these kids in college, and by the way, it was kind of funny. He must have been at one of those historically black universities because everyone was black. But but it was awesome. They like some people fell out. Like, yeah, he had some people who didn't do it, but he had 5 people win. And it was like, this is awesome. Like it's not completely awful.
Yeah, no, that's definitely white pilling. And well, one thing too with that video, real quick, was that where they had the Kardashian sisters and stuff, where I'm like, I'm upset with myself because I'm like, because I hear that like question as like a way to like get to show people like, oh, they don't know like these things, but they know like stupid facts and stuff. Like now I know the names of them, but then when I was just like, I was kind of telling my dad about it too. I was just like, I was saying like, oh, like Kim and Chloe, and then I actually couldn't remember, and now I remember rewatching it with Courtney though. But I was like, oh, I can't even remember it. Like, I'm glad I forgot this. And then in that video, I didn't even know there was a brother, so I learned that. I'm like, who? I had no idea who that was. But they used that at Second City before too, where it was like it was like a feminist. They asked like they brought people in the audience on stage, and they asked them like, in what year could women own their own credit card? And so like, and they had like different, which that was like 1974, 1976. It was not super long ago, but it was. So it's the whole show was about like feminist stuff, but so it had like historical things, and people would usually get it all wrong, and then they'd ask like, what's a Kardashian sister's name, and they can name those really easily. So like that's been going on for a while.
I saw, this came out, speaking of Kardashian, there's going to be some Apple Plus TV show about Hillary and Chelsea Clinton.
No.
Yeah, and they have a new like thing out about it where they had like Chelsea asked these legal questions, and Hillary and Kim Kardashian had buzzers, and Kim Kardashian wiped the floor with Hillary Clinton. Because remember, she has a law degree. She went and got a law degree.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah. So she won. It was really stupid though, because Hillary Clinton said that, like Chelsea was like, oh, it's only because you weren't good with the buzzer, and Hillary's like, oh yeah, that was why.
Sure.
Like it was like, oh no, fuck you, man. I don't care.
That's one thing I will give credit to. Like I mean, I haven't looked into it. I just remember like a basic thing about, I think Kim Kardashian started a thing for like wrongful convictions too. Like she started some sort of program for that. So I was just like, okay, like despite the reality shows and whatever, like things about like everyone loves you for nothing and stuff. Like I think she actually kind of does. She sounds like she's doing some things though. So like, I'll give her some credit for that. But again, I just don't pay attention to any of that.
Mm-hmm. Who's the demon slayer? Is it Hillary or is it Kim? Because I would say Hillary.
Hillary, yeah. If I had to choose between them, like I'd definitely pick Kim. Okay, well, let's do day shift before we wrap up here. I remember when you were messaging, or you talking about last week too, and in Discord, like that you seem to enjoy the film. Is that correct?
Yes, I did like it.
I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I think overall, like I said, like I just didn't expect Snoop Dogg in there, and especially because he kind of had this like country thing going on, you know, the cowboy hat, and then
Big John.
And Day Shift is about Big John, yeah, like about vampire slayers, and I was hoping when it just started off with Jamie Foxx like on his own and stuff, I was hoping like, no, they need to have like an organization, and then like, and eventually got into that. I'm like, good, like that's what like you actually need to have here. But because I was wondering, I'm like, why he pretends to be a pool guy, and then he's just trying to sell these teeth and stuff too, but like not doing a very good job with it. I'm like, there needs to be an organization. Otherwise, why would one choose to do this as a profession alone? You could just be a pool guy and actually make money, I'm sure, because he was like struggling. So it's just like, why bother doing that? So I was glad that they have that, and then bringing in Snoop Dogg, like, because I thought in the music too, when I was like, what are these lyrics? I forget what the first song was, and then I'm like, is that Snoop Dogg's like singing these like weird? I don't know. Again, it was like kind of like a country.
The first song was a version of California Love, actually.
But it was he was the one doing it, wasn't he?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is that so much of this movie is actually referencing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. It's a little funny
Okay,
to
I haven't
me.
seen that.
Like it's a video game, and I played it for my channel,
Okay,
and that's
okay.
one of the reasons why I actually enjoyed it. There's a point where someone hits it, like rips off someone's arm and then starts hitting them with it as a weapon, and
Yes.
I about died because there's a point in that game where the weapon that you get is someone's attacking you with a severed arm, and then you get that weapon after you beat that guy, and like you can't sell it to anyone. It's just in your inventory forever because no one wants it. It's like, why doesn't anyone value the severed arm as a weapon? Why is it only mine now?
Because
So it
they're
made me
everywhere.
laugh.
Anyone can have an arm, so you don't need to like it's supply and demand. There's not much. There's so much supply, there isn't enough demand for severed arms. 'Cause, like I've got two, I can sever one at any time. So, all right. So particular things that I had. Well, one, Dave Franco is adorable. Like, hey, I was happy. I guess maybe comparatively to Uncharted, you have the duo here. You have the Jamie Foxx is like the tough guy, and then you have the nerd, which I was surprised, Dave Franco, because he's normally playing like the cool, charming guy who, or sometimes a dick and stuff too. To see him as this like pathetic nerd who pees his pants, I just thought like this is yeah, this is a change from what I'm used to. But I liked it. I thought he did it well. And then and I thought they had a fun dynamic as the duo. I think they had some good chemistry compared to Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg.
I agree. I thought they were actually pretty good. And then there were some jokes that were so funny to me that I had to pause. And it was mostly just Jamie Foxx being rather understated with his delivery. There's a point where like his daughter shouts at him, "Get up, Daddy." And he's just like, "I'm trying." And she goes, "Try harder." And he's like, "Okay." And I'm like, I don't know, that killed me because he's just like still being like dad in the middle of a fight. Like it's adorable.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of stuff like that from Jamie Foxx. And the action was very well filmed and very well choreographed.
Even that first fight scene with the old lady as a vampire, though, but I'm like that was a long fight scene. I was kind of surprised. I wasn't sure. I'm like, do I still like this because, or is it too long for me? Is that what she said? But I think it was drawn out just enough that like okay, like yeah, because it's still weird to just see like here's this old lady fighting you, but I also had questions. So I had particular questions about it. Like one, why when you go into that vampire form are they like demonic and that their body parts just like snap around and everything too? Like I didn't like that. I see that in horror films when you're like a demon or possessed by a demon or something. I've never seen that with vampires. And if it's based off of a game, I don't know if that happens in the game.
I think it's an homage to the game. I don't think it's
okay, so they don't have
directly based on the game. I think it's homaging the game somewhat.
Okay.
Because the game also takes place in LA. Like so and there's a lot of that kind of body horror stuff going on in the game, honestly. So like I think some of that is in there, but and a lot of this like political vampire bullshit and different kinds of vampires, that's all in there too. And that's all based on a tabletop game.
Oh, is it? It reminded me of Left 4 Dead, where it was just like here are the different types of zombies, and so I didn't know what that might have been based off of.
But like I appreciated the fact when you brought up the bendy vampires and everything, they actually hired like contortionists.
Yeah,
that wasn't CGI. That was actual contortionists.
Wow,
they did a lot of like practical effects that I really appreciated because I don't think they were like, well, I could just do it in CGI, and I'm like, but that's so lazy.
And risky too. Like Prey, where their CG was terrible with those animals.
Oh yeah, it was not great. But like, so like to me, I felt like they did it really like it was a nice amount of CGI. It wasn't too much, And that fight in the hive with the Kasdan brothers. I can't remember what their names were. The two
Oh, yeah,
brothers
yeah.
that were
Yeah.
with them. Oh, I loved that sequence. It was so good.
That was
And
a lot. Yeah.
it was a lot, but it was like they shouted it was a hive, and I'm like, I don't need you to explain that any further. There's a shit ton of vampires. I got it. Like one word.
I was
And
trying
so-
to think of like, is that the right word to use? And I think I was trying to think compared to Supernatural. I think they called them nests, maybe. So I was trying to think like, do I like hive more, like vampire hive versus vampire? And I don't know. I think I like hive.
Well, and one of the reasons why I like that sequence is that like I was doing something while it was playing off to the side, and then I realized this is too good. I can already tell this is a great action scene. So I paused it, and then I came back to it, and I was about halfway through it, and I was like, wait a minute, is that Steve Howie? And so I rewound it and rewatched it again, and then I looked it up, and I'm like, it is like I'm pretty sure that's his name. He's
Who do you
married to
play?
Sarah. He played one of the brothers.
Okay.
And the other, and I also like, in one of the reasons why I wound it back a second time, it is Steve Howie. Is that I realized that only one of the brothers was doing most of the physical action, while the other brother was doing mostly shooting. Steve Howie is not a martial artist. So he's the one who says buckshot mouthwash, baby. And like, so he was doing mostly just shooting, and the other brother was doing all the actual like kicking and flipping and all that shit. And because that guy is a martial artist, and that's what he mostly does in movies. And like a lot of people have said, and I kind of agree with this, I felt like the brothers should have been in the movie more. They definitely set the movie up though for a sequel with all that El Jefe stuff. Like I knew that wasn't going to be our bad guy. I knew that was a sequel bad guy, like from the beginning. So to me, I was sort of like, okay, they're prepping for a sequel.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah. And then Snoop Dogg at the end too. Like, yeah, like of course he has to come back, and you're gonna be there later.
And I know I really enjoyed it, and I don't know that a sequel will be good or whatever, but I thought this one was good.
Well, I mean, at least there wasn't much like it wasn't as much like a character growth kind of movie where like they pretty much were flat character. The only thing would be Dave Franco's character where he I mean, he also became a vampire, but like him kind of gaining confidence and stuff too. Like, but Jamie Foxx kind of stayed the same throughout the whole thing. He kind of learned a little bit of stuff, but like it wasn't like a huge growth as far as just like, I'm a sucky person and I need to learn how to work as a team and learn how to like that kind of thing though. So I guess like that can be tough for sequels because like you already learned your lesson. Like now, like that was an internal kind of conflict or growth that you need. So then sequels, sometimes you have to go like externally because you've already learned that lesson, or you need to help others. So this one here, it's just kind of like, here's the next bad guy. Like I can see a sequel being fine because it's just like a continuation where like they're. But I don't know. It could also suck. But
well, I think the major dramatic question and the big focus for the main character is actually about his family, about reuniting his family.
Yeah, that's true. That he was trying. Well, that's what reminded me before was that was Spy Family. But you finish your thought. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, because it was about. It's like stop lying to them. Like I know it's kind of hard to tell someone that, by the way, vampires exist and I kill them. Like they're probably going to think you're crazy unless there's a vampire in the room, which is when he tells her. Yeah. Because that's the only time that I mean, honestly, like this whole idea that like, oh, he's been lying this whole time. Well, you tell someone that vampires exist, and see how well that goes over.
Well, so that's why it reminded me of Spy Family, because it was one of those things too, where, because I was saying last week about how like in Spy Family, the one guy's a spy, then he gets a pretend, he has to get a pretend family, so he has to adopt a girl, and she happens to be telepathic, and then he has to get a wife, and he convinces someone to, and she happens to be an assassin, and no one knows each other's secrets except for the daughter, because she's telepathic and can read their minds. But it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, if you're supposed to be a cutesy family story, you have a bunch of big lies going on between this like very immediate family. new, and it's just like this seems like it's going to like there needs to be problems with it though if you're going to have a good morals and themes later, is to show that these lies are not good to have and that's going to hurt you as a family, and then you grow together. And I'm still only like 5 episodes in, so I'm hoping as the show continues on that like they get to that point. And then watching Day Shift, it was like, oh yep, like here it is, like where you show like the lie is not good for the family and that tore them apart, and then he has to learn how to God, there's just so much more spam, porn spam in this chat. Show like he had to change enough but like even that too, he didn't change so much as he just finally just admitted the truth. Like it still wasn't like a huge character change for him though.
My thought is like when it comes to Spy Family, like I'm sort of like spies and assassins exist in the world I know.
Yeah.
But
well,
like if someone told me I'm a spy and I'm like, oh, I might be shocked, like, and maybe
but you can believe it more.
But the likelihood of me believing it is much higher than if they told me they kill vampires and vampires exist.
Although the telepath thing is supernatural.
Yeah, that's the one that is hard. But it's the spies and the assassins one. I'm sort of like, well, yeah, those exist, so it's totally possible. In my world, vampires don't exist, and that's essentially where Jocelyn was, the wife. Like vampires don't exist. So it's like, how do you tell that?
But I think, and I understand the difficulty. I mean, like even real life problems and stuff too. It could be difficult to tell people things, but there are ways, like like, oh, take a picture of a vampire, like you show the fangs, you show that they're like in the mirror, you don't get to you don't see them, like take a video or something. They're like, there are ways to show evidence, and you have like, and if they don't believe you, like, well then like you work toward it a way. Like I understand it's difficult to like say, but like because they exist, it's easy enough to be able to prove. So I don't think it's like too.
I think until a vampire is in the room, I think most people would want to commit you. Like, well, honestly,
if I were him, I would be like, yeah, like this is what I do, like here, and then I'd show you, like, hey, let me go, like, I'll take you to that the guy who buys the teeth. I'll take you to the organization that I work for. I'll show you pictures. I'll show you a real life vampire, and just be careful. Like, I'll protect you. Like, I would be prepared to like show, but the same thing for everything though too. Where it's just like, if I need to explain something, like here's my evidence to like that.
Yeah,
the thing I want to say. So I just take that for the same thing as far as like vampires. I think it's harder if you don't have any proof at all of anything. But like when they exist and they're all around you, I don't think it's that hard to like get her to believe you, because you can.
I think you definitely should do it before she gets pregnant though.
Yeah,
like, and you have a kid involved
early, unless he like
way earlier.
I don't know how long he's been a vampire. I can't remember if they mentioned it, but like if it didn't start until after they had already had a child, like if I don't know how long he'd been involved, but yeah, if you were already in this profession before, like when you started dating, yeah, like bring this up early on, like you kept it for so long, like that's gonna ruin all of your relationships.
When you're gonna move in, probably that's the moment.
Yeah.
I think that's the moment. And I'll tell you why. Because now you're cohabitating, which means when you go home. No, not that. It's the fact that your partner is now at risk.
Oh yeah,
because if someone follows you home, like you're putting them at risk.
Yeah, I hate when you're just anytime like, oh, even for him, he's like, hey, you're in danger, like you need to pack up and do it. Like, why? Like, what's happened? Like, I want to know these things ahead of time. Like, I don't want someone I'm living with or like have lived with to just like spring this on me though. I'd be so angry with that. Though. Like, that's why I don't like with like the even superhero stuff with the secret identities as much though. Where like, oh, can't know because I need to protect them, and then, but it's like that hurts them more though, because then you can't be prepared, because then like if I know you're Spider-Man, at least I can like choose to like, hey, I'm not going to like, yeah, like let's separate, let's not be involved, but at least I know now these things like that, like I could be in danger and I can protect myself more though, rather than like I'm just not going to tell anyone anything, and if something happens to them, they're going to be totally thrown off, like taken by surprise, unprepared, and I have to save them because I didn't do anything to warn them.
Well, and my problem actually with that, and especially specific to Spider-Man, is that like I'm not going to tell anyone to make sure that they're not endangered, and then randomly villains pick his family and friends to fuck with, not because he's Peter Parker and he might take pictures of Spider-Man, not because he is Spider-Man, just because they happen to be there because the writers are like, we have to add an extra layer of tension to this. So it's like Spider-Man, after so many instances of the villains choosing your family, not because you're Spider-Man, do you think that maybe it's not related anymore?
Yeah, maybe they should just get a heads up and like, or
yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I just because they always like it doesn't matter if you tell them or not, they're going to be endangered because these are creative narratives.
Yes, of
So
course,
it's
yeah, like so they're
bullshit.
gonna be written in, but even generally, like when you're in a world of like supervillains and stuff too, like yeah, let me warn people or like let them know and that I can be more helpful. Yeah, so I don't know, but that's separate. It was, I guess, similar to the vampire thing. They're like, when I know that vampires exist, I would tell people about it and try and show them evidence. Say like, hey, it's dangerous out here. Let me try and prepare you for the world, especially as a father. That I'm like, hey, let me prepare you how to protect yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like in Supernatural, the boys, they just drive around. They don't put down roots and marry someone like and endanger their lives.
Not
like
till the end.
not till the end. I don't know. I didn't watch the end. But for the years,
Yeah.
they don't involve themselves with people like normal people and not tell them. Like,
Mhm.
you know, almost every person they meet that's normal, they meet them because they're in danger from a monster.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
Right.
how they met. They like, oh, what was your meet cute? I saved him from a werewolf. Like, you know, like that kind of thing. But like I definitely don't think that it's responsible to not tell someone that you have this risky, dangerous job. I mean, it's like the same is true of like cops and like people
Yeah.
who like their family has to take extra precautions. That's a thing. So it's like if you're gonna work in a risky position, you can't hide that shit from your family. That's fucked up. And
Right.
so I agree with you there. Like, I mean, it's harder when like you have to go through this extra hurdle of proving that this danger is even possible. But
Yeah.
like you should do it. Like you should.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Then other things too that I had. I was confused by the mom. Was it Jocelyn? Whatever. Was she was just gonna like. Oh, did they have official shared custody like in this divorce or separation or whatever it was? Because she was just gonna move to Florida, but like told him, but kind of did it in this like afterthought though, where she's like already preparing and trying to do that, and he's like, and Jamie Foxx is just so surprised by like, what, like you can't be like, I'm gonna take my mom up on the offer, sell the house and go live with her in Florida, and like what, like you're on decent enough terms with your ex here, who's an involved father that your daughter loves still, like that they have a good connection despite his maybe absences sometimes because of work and the vampire stuff, but to move states without like first consulting the like I know people who can't leave like who are separated though, but like have a child, and then that's just like okay, like we're sticking around the area because like that's like the other parent is still around too though, like and it's I just thought like what a bitch to do that, like how that I mean like you guys don't outwardly hate each other, like you might be angry with them, but like clearly you're at least on speaking terms and like you were friendly enough. So that was a bitch move to make, to try and be like, oh yeah, actually I might be moving from California to Florida and I wasn't really talking to you about it. Like I don't know, like that. So that really
it is a
angered
very
me.
like both of them, like honestly, both of them have fucked up. Like he fucked up with that whole not telling her about the danger and everything. She's fucking up in the fact that she's all like, "Oh, springing this on you. I'm taking our kid and leaving." And I mean, I can totally believe that's possible though, because it is California, and probably she does have full custody because it's fucking California.
Well, that's what Well, and I was wondering, yeah, like if she does officially have full custody, that's one thing. But then when you're still like at least on friendly terms, then you should like that's I don't know. It's not even like there are circumstances in which you don't like. I went through that as a child. Like when my parents got divorced, my dad in California got full custody of me. So like, and that's difficult to do. So just knowing that though, like that, like
Yeah.
mom had problems. We moved to Pennsylvania without telling her. And so like, so she had no idea, like we had it, and just because of all the stuff that was going on, like she couldn't know until after we had moved. So like, but like that's an extreme circumstance. And I don't think that like for people who are at least on like in like well enough speaking terms that you're like visiting and all that, like
You expect him to pick up the kid from school or to take her to school.
Yeah, that you're if she has full custody and you're like, hey, can you pick her up at this party? Can you pick her up at school? Like that sounds pretty shared. And like you're allowing this to, like, yeah, like I don't know. It just that really annoyed me as far as like the writing goes, that like that they just kind of threw that in like, oh yeah, like here's your conflict for the story is that like you might lose your family. Like, wow, you could have written that in a little bit better, that it was like more of a struggle and that she like came, I don't know. It just made me
They wanted
really
to put that time crunch on it.
Yeah,
they really wanted to put that time crunch on it. Like I felt like that was like that's a little contrived. Like how much and like you're sacrificing likability of your characters for that time crunch. Like they definitely did, honestly. But like at the same time, like some of her concerns, like I can't imagine that California is a cheap place to live. Not LA, not I mean, goddamn. And she's like, oh, she needs braces or whatever, and like, and he's not actually bringing in money. Like, I'm not saying that like that excuses her. I'm saying I understand why she wants to go to Florida. I don't understand why, like, from a writing perspective, her slamming that in his face so close to when she's actually going. Right. That's the problem.
Exactly. Agreed. Yeah. Because if it were like, hey, we've been struggling for months. I've been like, this is it. Like, if he wasn't so surprised by it though, too, where he just like, or it's like, oh, he kind of knew it might be coming, and like here, and he did mention that later on. He's like, oh, she's kind of threatened beforehand, but she never went. Like this time, it seems real. So that just wasn't enough for me though, too, where it was just like, oh, that he's been panicking for a while. Here's the thing, and he's finally coming down to it. Or like, and then something happened with like that made it like, oh, we only have the 1 week now. There just needed to be a little bit more written in there for me to say that like, oh, they had a little bit more knowledge that did not make her seem like she was just springing this out of thin air, because like that, I don't know.
Well, like if the dialogue had been instead, I told you months ago we were moving. And he was saying, and
I didn't believe
it.
Said,
I didn't believe it. Like he was in denial this whole time.
Yeah.
And now he's seeing cast boxes.
That could have been that's an easy fix. I would have been totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Let's just rewrite the movie for them.
Yeah. I do that a lot, honestly. Like I'm like, this is how it would be. It would have worked better. Like, and sometimes it's just like an easy tweak or two. Like it honestly doesn't have to be that big of a deal usually. And it's like, oh, you were so close to it being like reasonable, but you rushed it. You rushed that script to production, and I feel a little pissed about that.
So it's just like oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's just like a small part. Like no, like that was his like raison d'etre for the whole film. So it was just like that. It needed to be, better scripted there. Just like,
I mean, like it's not a big change. It doesn't seem like it's not drastic. It's not a drastic change. All it like they could be. It's the scene could play out almost exactly the same in the same place. So the same amount of production value, you just changed the lines. That's all you did.
Yeah.
That's not, but you made it better that way. And that's what I meant by not a big deal. Is that like, from a production standpoint, it should not have been hard to make that cleaner.
Right.
So I agree.
Well, so apart from that's just like really, I was bothered by that for a while, but like again, Dave Franco was adorable, but he did have the line too where he was just like, I don't believe in guns. And then Jamie Foxx, which, generally dislike that. I think it's stupid. But, and then Jamie Foxx is like asking why. And he says, they're immoral and killing machines. And then Dave Franco goes on to explain how I shot a squirrel and with a BB gun, and so they did like a little comedic bit where he had to do the squirrel, and I'm sitting there and like, you shot a squirrel yourself. Like, you aimed this gun and shot a squirrel, and you're blaming the gun on it. Like, it's one thing for people to separate and detach from it, to say that like, oh, guns, kill people and all that too, because they've never held it. But when you actively do it and you shoot and you're blaming the gun, I was like, no.
Yeah, I know. I didn't like that part either, because here's my thought: is if he didn't have a gun and he still wanted to hurt the squirrel, pick up a rock, throw the rock at the squirrel.
Yeah.
You still hurt it. And it's like, it's still you. It's still you choosing to hurt something.
That just made me think that like, you're like a budding psychopath or something if you intentionally I was unclear if he did it by accident or if he intentionally like shot the squirrel and then like, oh no, like I didn't expect this to happen when I aimed a gun at this thing. Like,
it was one of those morbid curiosity actions kind of thing. But yeah, I didn't like that either. But I also felt like they're basically saying he's being stupid. Like the movie is not saying he's the smart guy. They play him off in the beginning as this total buffoon who's not capable. So I think for the most part that sequence is feeding into that idea. Because it is stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
And maybe I'm bothered because like people will still watch that who are against guns and they're like, the gun did it. Like, and maybe that's why it's just like, but no, like the point is that like he's the dummy for that. And because it was also just and hopefully like maybe that was the intention too. It's like, you work for a company that kills people. like so then what do you mean that like, oh, these are killing machines? Like, that's what everyone here does. You go out in the field, you're killing I guess if you don't consider them alive, humanoid anymore, like that's one thing. But that was one thing I think Jamie Foxx learned though too, because at first he was like, they're things or whatever, but then he had friends like Dave Franco becomes a vampire, like everyone, and they're like, oh, I can control it, I can choose to still be myself during this too. So which I was hoping for. I was hoping that like that would be the dynamic that they'd end up
I think they should have played that a little harder though.
I agree with that.
I think they should have hit they should have hit, because like Jamie Foxx is basically just like, oh, I guess you're okay. And
he was racist. He was racist towards the vampires at the beginning, and then later on, it was just kind of like,
to the point where he was murdering them all. Like, remember that? And that's how racist he is.
It needed to be a bigger deal for him to be like, oh, I'm gonna choose not to kill you. Like that, you're still you. Like you. I mean, despite you trying to kill, like, yeah, there needed to be a bigger relationship fix, I guess there.
There needed to be a bigger moment of him going, so vampires can control themselves, they don't have to be monsters. It should have been bigger. Like it definitely needed to be bigger. And I mean I love Dave Franco as a vampire. He's really funny. Especially when he got shot and she's all like, you're fine. That made me laugh so hard. Got another bot. Bots.
No, I really enjoyed him. I know we have so many, like just a lot of let's talk about sex too much here. Apparently, I don't know. But so overall, like I'm being very critical on like these particular things. Like, but I'll still say, like overall, I thought it was a fun movie, and while I had like certain plot or dialogue issues, I thought it was well done. I thought it was like funny and I enjoyed it. But there were just like, the small things that like didn't detract completely from the film. Like I could still like, accept it.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't expect like perfection for the most part from action comedies, but I also am, because they're a genre I enjoy, but at the same time, it's like they could be cleaner. There's almost always a time when they could be cleaner, and I'm not gonna just give them a pass. Like, no, you could do better. And there is a new chat in the poll, a new poll in the chat. I don't know what that was. So
I don't. It's not showing up on. Because it maybe. Why is it not? Because it's on Top Chat. What did it say? Most people just didn't watch it. Uncharted.
yeah, most people. Yeah, what did people say about Uncharted?
Because it's not.
They
pop up.
said 69%.
69.
Nice.
That's
Haven't
how we're getting
seen
all
it.
this spam.
Yeah, 16% liked Uncharted. 8% didn't like Uncharted, and
Okay.
5% thought it was meh.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the meh was an option. Okay. Well, so then of those who watched it, there was still a decent amount who enjoyed it. Yeah. I think Uncharted and Day Shift were pretty close to me. That they were both just kind of fun action comedy movies that I had issues with, but overall it was just kind of like, okay, I didn't hate it. Like, it wasn't so terrible that I was just like, I want to turn this off, or so boring. Like, it kept me engaged enough that like the action is fun enough, and the dialogue it was comedic enough to like keep me entertained throughout the movie. But again, my bar is pretty low for a lot of things.
I think I put Day Shift like probably 1 or 2 points above.
I'm surprised it's only
Uncharted.
1 or 2 above. Yeah. I thought,
Yeah.
okay. I assumed
Well,
it was
because
above.
Uncharted was mostly meh to me. That was a meh movie.
Yeah, well,
it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't.
Okay. So maybe I thought you disliked it more, but so yeah, I
It's like
underestimated your.
mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I
fine.
felt.
Okay.
She's hungry. I'm sorry.
I know, no, it's fine. We can wrap up here since we've been going for a while
Yeah.
anyway. I need to go bring in the birds, who are probably inside. So it's gonna be so. I don't know if they're inside. Well, I guess okay, we can wrap up. I forgot about housekeeping again, totally. So I'll just do that here now. Please like, share, subscribe. I don't think we have anything in particular this following week, but we have book club September 25th. Satanic verse.
I'm not helping you.
I think I keep wanting to say savagery, like not even just Savage Worlds, but what is the book? Was it Management of Savagery or what?
Oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
That was the first book club I was part of.
You're right, yeah, but that was so long ago. But like that, because it starts with S-A, that's stuck in my head, and I want to say it every time. So Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie, and September 25th at noon Eastern. Following one is October 30th, Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut, and I'm getting there. What else is there? I still don't think I set a date for the next Bad Movie Club night, but probably, I don't know, maybe this Sunday. I'll post in there, and I think we're gonna try and watch They Them. If not this Sunday, then the following Sunday. Unless there are other nights. I asked people in there like if other nights work better. I don't know if other nights or times work better for you, Alex, generally, but so like I am open to like different times and days if people want to participate and cannot. Anything else?
I can't think of anything, but she's screaming, so
Okay. All right. Well, we'll say good night. I'm gonna run the end credits. If the baby goose is inside, I'll grab her and I'll show it post credits and see if just so people can see it later on, because she's big now. But yeah, have a good night, everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you're new to Unsafe Space, check out our deep content library that includes discussions with everyone from James Lindsay to Brett Weinstein. And please consider helping to fund our work by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on a variety of social media platforms, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space Discord server, which is open to financial supporters at any level. We hope to see you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production is known by the state of California to cause unregulated ideation that may be harmful to bureaucrats. Association with the following individuals or tacos is strictly prohibited. Apropos of nothing, I was just wondering how would you feel about another pandemic? Your president is in full control of his mental faculties. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.
Hi. This is her. She's so big now. Very full screener. Yeah. I know you're kind of scared because your mom and dad aren't here, huh? Yeah. I'm surprised she's not crying as much though. But all right, this is the little lemon baby, lemon junior, lemon drop, lemon plop. Probably lemon plop. But all right, bye guys. Bye Alex. End broadcast. Chirp, 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 chirp.